Chapter 3269. In the end, Chen Zhao didn't attend the banquet. It was impossible for Xiao Jiaqiu to not have any complaints about Chen Zhao. She wasn't a broad-minded woman to begin with. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her narrow-minded. However, she knew very well Chen Zhao could crush her in all aspects. So, she didn't reveal her thoughts at all. Minister Zhou, I want to know more about cultivators. Can you tell me? What do you want to know specifically? It's mainly about cultivation. Actually, Xiao Jiaqiu had already learned a lot about the spiritual world from Lei Mu. Lei Mu was the name she'd given to the flood dragon. Because the flood dragon was lightning wood. So, she just called it this name. The flood dragon didn't object either. However, she didn't get much information from Lei Mu. She even had a lot of misconceptions. After all, Lei Mu wasn't human. And he'd been sealed for decades. He didn't know much about the spiritual world either. What useful information could he give Xiao Jiaqiu? Regarding cultivation, our special intelligence department has quite a few. What level can you reach? Now that Miss Xiao has a flood dragon as a spiritual pet and you two are connected, you're blessed. It won't be hard for you to reach the level of a flood dragon. Then what level is my flood dragon Thunderwood in the spiritual world? Top level, Zhou Yiren said. Not just in the country, but in the entire world. Oh, Lei Mu is top level. But I think he's much weaker than Mr. Qin. You compare to Mr. Qin. Then there's no way. Since Lei Mu is top level, why can't we compare? The flood dragon is at the top, but Mr. Qin is at the top. There aren't many in the world who can compete with him, and he's also one of the best among the best. I don't think there are more than 3 who can match him, and none can defeat him. Then, how can Lei Mu surpass him? If you transform into a dragon, you can barely be considered one of the best. Then how? Ha! It's not that easy. If you cultivate for 500 years and don't die to heaven's test, you can transform. 500 years. Department head Zhou must be joking with me. Of all the living beings in the world, apart from humans who can reach the pinnacle with a lifespan of 100 years, no matter how intelligent the other creatures are, it is difficult for them to reach the pinnacle within 100 years. But isn't a dragon a divine beast? Dragons are divine beasts, but they are somewhat different from what you think. There are 2 types of dragons. The divine beasts born from heaven and earth are born with the ability to penetrate the heavens and the earth. They can split into chi and travel between the mountains and rivers. They can also condense into a human form and are called divine dragons. Zhou Yiren paused again and said, there's another kind, like the true dragon evolved from your spiritual pet, the flood dragon. If it can transform into a dragon, it will naturally have extraordinary strength, but it's still 1,000 miles away from the divine dragon. It's already very commendable to be ranked at the top. If it wants to go one step further, it will require another 1,000 years of cultivation. In other words, the Thunderwood will never evolve again in my lifetime. There are no absolutes in this world, but it's not completely impossible. Now that the spiritual tide has arrived, there are many strange phenomena in the world, and there are many ancient treasures. If there's a chance, it's not impossible to transform into a dragon in one's lifetime. But the chances are slim. If it's so easy to reach the top, there won't only be a few in the world. Mr. Chen is probably not older than me, right? How did he cultivate? Everyone is different. Why don't you think about it? How can someone become Father Ma? And some people are still struggling to feed themselves. Everyone understood the logic, but Xiao Jiaqiu was still unwilling to accept it. Miss Xiao, you should be more open-minded about some things. If one day, can you reach Mr. Chen's level? Even the national level might give you some face. And before that, You should recognize reality. Zhou Yiren was also an understanding person. Of course he could tell. Xiao Jiaqiu had a lot of complaints about him. He didn't talk about right or wrong or grievances. Some rights and wrongs were determined based on strength. Some grievances only existed because one was powerless. Miss Xiao. Let's talk about the development plan of the Special Intelligence Department. After all, you're a member now. So, you need to make your own contribution. Of course, I'll do my best to cooperate with the Special Intelligence Department's publicity work. Also, it's within the Special Intelligence Department's capabilities. I also hope that the Special Intelligence Department can support my acting career. Is that for sure? It's a win-win situation. Chen Zhao was as free as usual these 2 days. Every day, he played and walked around. Boss. The company has moved to a new office building. Do you want to come and take a look? Not anymore. I have something to do today. Yes, Chen Zhao had something to do. He had to go to an online celebrity shop. In the past few days, Chen Zhao had gone to quite a few online celebrity shops. It wasn't that the food was really delicious. He just wanted something new. If he really wanted delicious food, Chen Zhao would hire a national banquet chef. He would make a Manchu Han imperial feast for himself every day. Okay. Zhang Ting was a bit disappointed. Chen Zhao felt that he had only gone to the company once in the half a month he had been back. It was indeed a bit ridiculous. Then go. You're still working, right? Are you coming now? Yes, I'll go now. Otherwise, I'll be lonely after everyone gets off work. The animation company's new location was better than the previous office building. The interior was also better. This was all because they had enough money. Wang He's studio was also nearby. The monthly rent here was 800,000 yuan. It was really expensive, but the location was really good. If not for the fact that the company didn't want to sell the building. Chen Zhao wanted to buy the entire building. When Chen Zhao arrived at the company, Zhang Ting even called all the higher-ups to the door to welcome him. Then Zhang Ting took Chen Zhao to all the departments in the company. Actually, besides visiting the new location, Zhang Ting called Chen Zhao over. At the same time, she also wanted to show Chen Zhao their current results. Right now, they had already made a few minutes of unedited footage. It was mainly for Chen Zhao to see the effect. Chen Zhao actually watched cartoons too. But he really wasn't a professional. His initial investment wasn't some grand and lofty ideal. After watching the footage for a few minutes, Chen Zhao kept praising it. The characters were exquisite, the camera was beautiful, and the storyboard was accurate. Basically, these were the words. As for whether it was good or not, that was for the professionals to decide. Usually, after an animation project started, they would first make the climax of the script and then use it to get investors. For example, the famous Neza and the Great Sage both used this method. Their project was the same. What Chen Zhao saw was the climax of the script. Boss, stop praising it. As the audience, do you think there's anything that can be improved? Chapter 3270. Do we have enough money to burn? That was all Chen Zhao could say after holding it in for a long time. Connoisseurs appreciated the artistry, while amateurs enjoyed the show. Chen Zhao was a complete amateur. The scene he had just seen was indeed exciting. However, he knew that this quality would definitely cost a lot of money. Boss, this is the climax of the movie. Not every scene needs to be this expensive, especially for 3D movies. Some scenes can be cut to control the budget, Zhang Ting said. Zhang Ting said, this clip cost about 600,000 yuan per minute, and the other scenes cost less than 100,000 yuan per minute. They're all animated scenes. Why is there such a huge difference? Using a high frame count for the fighting scenes can make the movements more coherent and realistic. There's also more special effects and post-processing. All in all, it really doesn't add up to much. If it's a Hollywood movie, some special scenes can even reach $1 million per minute. However, the scene we're showing now costs 600,000 yuan per minute. It's already the best in China. Then why can't we do a Hollywood movie? Not enough skills. It's not because of the technology, it's because there's no need for it. First of all, our labor costs are cheaper. Let's take an artist as a comparison. The price of an artist of the same level in China is 10 times higher. An artist overseas can earn 5,000 to 10,000 USD per image, but 2,000 RMB in China is enough to hire a very good artist. This is a huge savings in our budget. Secondly, our production process is all done internally, unlike Hollywood's industrial style. Many of their shots are outsourced to other companies, and the same goes for their special effects. Thus, the price is naturally much higher. As for the difference in technology, there's no obvious difference in the technology of special effects. In fact, many of Hollywood's beyond grade A movies are outsourced by local special effects companies. But I think there's still an obvious difference between the special effects in China and Hollywood. That depends on the investment price. $100 million and 10 million yuan. Anyone can see the difference, Zhang Ting said with a smile. Zhang Ting smiled and said, and the movie industry itself is a high-risk industry. The domestic market is not fully mature, and 90% of the movies that are released every year are not able to recover their cost through the cinema chain. Investing $100 million in a movie budget is very likely to result in a serious loss. Zhang Ting seemed to be worried that Chen Zhao would misunderstand that the cartoon he invested in would lose money, so she added, but the domestic market environment is developing in a good direction. The most obvious change is the increase in the domestic box office. Also, the channel. For example, the 3 major video websites. What's more, the country is actively cracking down on piracy, which is also beneficial to the domestic environment. The risk is decreasing year by year. The profits are also increasing year by year. Yes, that's great. Chen Zhao nodded. Other than that, Chen Zhao didn't know what to say. This cartoon wasn't just Chen Zhao's investment. It was also Zhang Ting's painstaking effort. Everyone in the animation industry dreamed of making a blockbuster movie. What if this cartoon was successful? Zhang Ting would also have a better attitude when working for him. Therefore, Chen Zhao hoped that the cartoon would be successful. If you don't have enough money, tell me, Chen Zhao said. I'll fully support this cartoon. Got it, boss. Also, if this cartoon fails, don't be discouraged. I won't blame anyone. Just treat it as supporting the domestic animation industry. Chen Zhao planned to give Zhang Ting a heads up first. Boss, we're just getting started. You're the one who's discouraged. Okay. Are you free in the afternoon? Come walk with me if you're free. Zhang Ting naturally couldn't reject Chen Zhao. After lunch, Zhang Ting called the company's car to pick Chen Zhao up. Old Wu, go to Nanjing Road Mingho Street. Okay, CEO Zhang. The driver, Old Wu, glanced at the rearview mirror. However, the car wasn't going in the direction they wanted to go. Old Wu. Did you drive the wrong way? Old Wu glanced at the rearview mirror. Suddenly, he turned the steering wheel. In an instant, the car drove into a container of a truck driving on the highway. The truck had been driving the container, as if waiting for this moment. After their car entered the container, the door closed. There was no light in the entire container. "Old Wu, what are you doing?" But Old Wu didn't respond to Zhang Ting's question. Zhang Ting heard the door open and close. Clearly, Old Wu had escaped from the car during this time. He even pulled out the car key. Now, both Zhang Ting and Chen Zhao were in darkness. Zhang Ting's expression was very ugly. She had a premonition that something bad was about to happen. Old Wu's actions were obviously premeditated. What was it for? Now that Chen Zhao was here, his motive was almost certain. "Mr. Chen, I'm sorry. I met the wrong person," Chen Zhao chuckled. "It's okay. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding." "Boss, I'm afraid it's not a misunderstanding. I think we've been kidnapped." "What a disagreeable piece of news." "Boss, don't worry. It'll be fine." Zhang Ting wasn't nervous at all. Instead, she tried to comfort Chen Zhao. Zhang Ting had already prepared for the worst. After this, no matter how magnanimous Chen Zhao was, he probably wouldn't be able to contain her anymore. Zhang Ting was very, very angry. She took out her phone, but there was no signal. The container clearly blocked the signal. However, this was also reasonable. Zhang Ting squeezed angrily and the phone actually shattered. "Zhang Ting, your strength isn't small at all." "Ha." Zhang Ting chuckled softly. "Boss, turn your head." "Ha." "Do what?" "Just listen to me." "Fine." Chen Zhao turned his head. Then he heard the sound of a car window shattering. At the same time, there was the sound of someone kicking the door. "Boss, we can get out now," Zhang Ting said. Chen Zhao was a bit surprised. It seemed that Zhang Ting wasn't as simple as she looked. Chen Zhao really didn't realize that Zhang Ting wasn't an ordinary person. There was a strong flow of air around her body. In the past, Chen Zhao had always thought that Zhang Ting was just a female elite. Perhaps it was because she was a strong career woman. As a result, Chen Zhao never thought about Zhang Ting's other aspects. But now, she clearly wasn't going to hide it anymore. "Boss," Zhang Ting said, "use your phone." Chen Zhao turned on his phone and illuminated the environment inside the container. The container had clearly been modified. There were many layers and partitions. Chapter 3271. Zhang Ting looked back at Chen Zhao. Then he walked to the edge of the container. Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at Zhang Ting. Zhang Ting suddenly punched the metal wall of the container. Duang, with a loud bang, an obvious fist print appeared on the metal wall. "This container has been modified." Zhang Ting's face darkened. This punch didn't meet Zhang Ting's expectations. "Director Zhang, don't waste your energy. This container is enchanted with talismans. Even if you die of exhaustion, you won't be able to break through this container." Old Wu's voice could be heard. "Old Wu, you know who I am." "Hee hee. I've heard of the reputation of the Zhang clan of Eagle Swamp, so there's no need for you to repeat it. Old Wu, I've always treated you well, right? Is this how you repay me?" "Haha, no matter how well you usually treat me, it can't compare to money. If Mr. Zhang is willing to stay out of this matter, I will not mistreat Mr. Zhang after everything is done. Naturally, Mr. Zhang will have a share." Zhang Ting looked back at Chen Zhao and said calmly, "Wu, do you know what you're doing? You don't have to worry about whether I know or not. Since I dare to do it, I have nothing to fear." Zhang Ting was furious. Her dream, her future, had been ruined by this bastard. Bang! In her anger, Zhang Ting punched the iron wall again. But even with her full strength, she could only leave a fist mark on the iron wall. If he wanted to break this container, he would need at least a few hundred punches. At this moment, the car stopped. They should have arrived at their destination. Don't worry, President Qin. I won't let anything happen to you. Chen Zhao smiled and shook his head. I'm not worried. President Qin, I'm really sorry. I didn't know you well enough. At this moment, an unknown gas suddenly surged into the container. Cough cough, Zhang Ting kept coughing. Bastard! Zhang Ting gritted her teeth and growled. However, the bewildering smoke was very choking. It should be some kind of magic used to confuse people. She felt that the flow of her magic power was incomparably slow. Then, even his physical strength disappeared. His limbs felt weak, and he couldn't even stand steadily. Zhang Ting lay on the ground and turned her head with difficulty. She realized that Chen Zhao was standing there. Chen Zhao waved his hand. The smoke smelled really bad. At this moment, the container door opened. Zhang Ting suddenly felt that someone was lifting her up. It was Chen Zhao who was carrying her. She was confused as to why Chen Zhao wasn't affected. Although the smoke was targeted at her, it was not a big deal. However, this bewildering smoke did not affect cultivators or ordinary people. Will be the same, 4 limbs will be weak. Chen Zhao carried Zhang Ting and jumped off the container. The people outside were stunned for a moment. What was going on? Why was Chen Zhao fine? Was he not affected by the enchanting smoke? Be careful, this person is a little strange, Old Wu reminded his companions in a low voice. I've been vegetarian and praying to Buddha. I won't kill. Chen Zhao smiled at Old Wu and the others. If you don't kill, the outside world doesn't have to worry. Old Wu smirked. Suddenly, a black shadow emerged from the bushes at the periphery. The black shadow's speed was extremely fast, and it instantly appeared in front of Old Wu and the others. Old Wu and the others were not weak, so they immediately noticed the newcomers. However, the newcomer's combat experience was extremely rich. First, he shot a green light at one of the kidnappers. The kidnapper was the weakest and was immediately entangled by the green light. The other kidnappers wanted to save their companions. But the newcomer pulled the green light and the bound kidnapper swept past his companions. One of the kidnappers tried to hug his companion, but he was sent flying with it. But the green light turned into a poisonous snake. It quickly bit the 2 kidnappers. The 2 kidnappers realized that the situation was bad and tried to fight again. They stumbled a few steps and fell to the ground again. Oh no! The kidnappers all felt that the newcomer's strength was unfathomable. The kidnappers were about the same. But the newcomer could easily defeat 2 of them. They probably could not hold on for long. Old Wu turned to escape. But just then, a large number of poisonous scorpions suddenly emerged from the bushes. There were a lot of them. They covered an area of dozens of meters. They completely blocked Old Wu's escape route. Moreover, the scorpions were approaching him. Old Wu could only change directions. When he looked back, he realized that his companions had all fallen. Mr. Qin. The newcomer was none other than Mo Han. Another person appeared from the bushes. It was Mo Han's girlfriend, Zhaoli. Old Wu was the only kidnapper left standing. Do you want to help your girlfriend? Mo Han looked back and shook his head, no need. Mo Han saw Zhang Ting in Chen Zhao's hand. Mr. Qin. Do you need me to see your friend? Chen Zhao placed Zhang Ting on the ground. Mo Han came over to check. He then took out a pill and stuffed it into Zhang Ting's mouth. Soon, the enchanting smoke on Zhang Ting was dispelled. Zhang Ting. How do you feel? Chief Chen, this is my bodyguard, Chen Zhao said. Zhang Ting was in a trance. It was no wonder. Chen Zhao was such a big boss. It was impossible not to have a bodyguard. It turned out that there was such a powerful bodyguard following them. No wonder Chen Zhao could walk around so casually. Furthermore, he wasn't surprised at all when he saw his monstrous strength. So he had seen it before. At this time, Zhao Li had already dealt with Old Wu. President Qin, I'm very sorry. Put you in danger. I am voluntarily resigning from my current position. No need. I didn't take it to heart. It's just a small matter. President Qin, this is not a small matter. If I say it's a small matter, then it's a small matter. It wasn't like Zhang Ting betrayed him. Chen Zhao didn't blame Zhang Ting. To Chen Zhao, he was a grown man showing off his wealth everywhere. He didn't even have a bodyguard with him. It was no wonder that someone would think about him. Chen Zhao wasn't surprised by the kidnapping at all. Plus, Zhang Ting couldn't possibly know who in the company wanted to harm him. She couldn't read minds either. Plus, Chen Zhao valued Zhang Ting a lot. His current ultimate move, Neutron Star, was Zhang Ting's idea. This neutron star was very meaningful to him. Just this alone made it worth Chen Zhao asking her to stay. Chen Zhao also hoped that Zhang Ting could give him more constructive suggestions in the future. Zhang Ting didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so firm. He didn't blame her at all. President Chen, how about I demote myself and reduce my salary? There's no need for this formality. Okay, this ends here. Then Old Wu and the others, there will be professionals dealing with this, Chen Zhao said. I've informed the Special Intelligence Division, Mo Han said. He was running a security company now, so he naturally had to deal with the Special Intelligence Division. I'll leave it to you. Oh, you drove here, right? Mo Han passed the car keys to Chen Zhao. Chapter 3272. In the evening, Chen Zhao went to the Special Intelligence Department after dinner. The headquarters of the Huadong Region Special Intelligence Department was set up in an old house from the 30s or 40s. There were 2 floors in total, and a sign was hung outside. Unconventional Security Operations Department. There were houses all around, and they were all old houses of similar age. When Chen Zhao entered the headquarters of the Special Intelligence Department, Zhou Yiren walked out. Mr. Chen, why are you here? Ha! I'm here to see the people who kidnapped me, Chen Zhao said, chuckling. All right, I'll take you to see them. Passing through the courtyard, Chen Zhao realized that the Special Intelligence Department was rather small. Minister Zhou, I saw a lot of people in the Special Intelligence Department a few days ago, but I don't think this place can hold so many people. It's not like they sit in an office. Other than a few people who deal with paperwork, the other members in charge of the operation basically sleep at home. If they have something to do, they go out to carry out missions. Not many of them need an office. After entering a small room, Zhou Yiren opened the entrance to a cellar. It turned out that there was still space below, but it was just a dungeon. There were a total of 10 rooms, and the area was quite small. Each cubicle was about 6 square meters. They ate and drank together. Minister Zhou, your conditions have really widened my horizons. This feeling was similar to when he first accepted the supernatural organization. But the supernatural organization was weak because they didn't have the power. Without strength, one would naturally have no money. However, even with Chen Zhao's current knowledge, the strength of the Special Intelligence Division was not something he could deal with. That was also a superb standard. When Xiao Jiaqiu's incident happened before, 20 to 30 members of the Secret Intelligence Department. Every one of them was basically at the elite level. With such strength, he would definitely be a trump card anywhere in the world. There's nothing I can do. I can't get any funding. Zhou Yiren was also very helpless. Moreover, Shanghai's housing prices are really high. This house is owned by the government. Otherwise, I reckon our department would have to settle in the suburbs. Oh, by the way, this is what I promised Minister Zhou last time. Chen Zhao took out a check and handed it to Zhou Yiren. Mr. Chen, how could I do that? Nothing, just a good karma. Chen Zhao's words were straightforward. If you give me convenience, I'll give you benefits. It's that simple. Zhou Yiren glanced at the number on it, then silently put away the check. On behalf of all the members of the Special Intelligence Department, I thank Mr. Chin. By the way, if you need it, I happen to have a building. It's not in the CBD. It's on Nanjing Road, but it's not far. It's only 4 floors. It's for rent now. If Minister Zhou needs it, I can rent it to the Special Intelligence Department cheaply. What price? Zhou Yiren was tempted. He knew that Chen Zhao would give him a discount. However, this was Shanghai after all. Even if it was not in the CBD, every inch of land was still expensive. Is Nanjing Road considered a bustling area? The small office building also had a sky-high price. In fact, in Shanghai, whether it was in the CBD area or not, the price was sky-high. 100,000 a month. Zhou Yiren gasped. Chen Zhao was basically doing it for free. After all, Chen Zhao's animation company had rented an entire floor. That's 3 million yuan a month. Although the location was in the CBD area, the difference between the two would normally not be double. On the other hand, Chen Zhao still had an entire office building. The rent would only be more expensive than the office building of an animation company. Mr. Chen. Is that appropriate? Whether it's suitable or not, Minister Zhou should first look at the environment before deciding. I'm afraid it's too noisy over there. It'll affect your work. Okay. When are you free? Let's go take a look. I'm free anytime. Zhou Yiren opened a cell. Old Wu was inside. Come out, Zhou Yiren yelled. Chen Zhao could be considered his sugar daddy now. This thing kidnapped Chen Zhao. It was another crime committed in his territory. Zhou Yiren naturally had to give Chen Zhao enough face. Old Wu saw that Zhou Yiren had opened the cell so casually. Moreover, he wasn't restrained by shackles yet. He pounced at Chen Zhao. If he could catch Chen Zhao, he might even have a chance to escape. But Zhou Yiren's eyes and hands were sharp. He looked like he was middle-aged and fat, but he was actually many times stronger than the members of the Special Intelligence Department. He did not make any fancy moves, but he just grabbed the back of Old Wu's neck. Old Wu immediately felt that his body couldn't move. Old Wu wanted to struggle again. But Zhou Yiren didn't care. He dragged Old Wu's neck and walked out. The smell is heavy here. Let's go outside. Old Wu was like a rabbit. Zhou Yiren had him under his control. The smell in the dungeon was indeed bad. Out of the dungeon. Chen Zhao took in a deep breath. Someone died down there, right? The smell is really strong. How many years has the Special Intelligence Department been established? Would you believe me if I said no one died? That's true. How do we deal with this guy? Zhou Yiren asked. Old Wu's life could be decided with a word from Chen Zhao. But since Chen Zhao had handed him over to the Special Intelligence Department, he definitely didn't plan on killing him. Zhou Yiren wasn't worried that things would be hard to deal with. Nothing. Leave him here. I just want to ask a few questions, Chen Zhao said. Zhou Yiren casually tossed Old Wu to the ground. You'll answer whatever Mr. Chen asks. Don't make trouble for yourself, Zhou Yiren threatened. I've never interacted with you before. Since you know I'm the boss of my company, you must have a spy in the company, right? Fuck you. Old Wu suddenly attacked. He bounced up from the ground and pounced at Qin Zhao. This time, Zhou Yiren didn't attack. Qin Zhao raised his leg and kicked Old Wu's stomach. Old Wu was dumbfounded. He smashed into the wall and then fell to the ground, unable to stand up. Instantly, he knew that Qin Zhao was a cultivator too. Qin Zhao was also many times stronger than him. Speak. You can't run. You don't have to cover for your accomplice. Old Wu glanced at Qin Zhao and closed his eyes with a cold smile. It seemed that he'd accepted his fate and didn't plan on answering Qin Zhao's questions. Oh, you're pretty stubborn. Zhou Yiren sneered. Mr. Qin, leave it to me. I guarantee he'll talk in half an hour. Since he would rather suffer than speak, it must be someone related to him by blood. Check his background. Minister Zhou, that shouldn't be a problem, right? No problem. Old Wu glanced at Qin Zhao and Zhou Yiren and closed his eyes again. Qin Zhao waited outside for half an hour. Zhou Yiren walked out, sweating profusely. He smiled bitterly at Qin Zhao. Mr. Qin, sorry. That guy's too stubborn. I already broke his bones, but he didn't say anything. Whatever, there's no rush. Qin Zhao wasn't sure if there was a spy. His guess just now was too subjective. After all, he was famous in the company. Maybe he heard the employees talking about him. But if there really was a spy, it was better to get rid of this unsettling factor as soon as possible. Chapter 3273. Stephen went back to Magic City. On the first day he came back, he dragged Qin Zhao to the most expensive restaurant. Dragon Tiger Mountain was a tourist development zone. But the conditions couldn't compare to a city like Magic City. Stephen and the film crew spent most of their time in a Taoist temple. Of course, as a director, Stephen was used to filming in the open. So, this wasn't a problem for him. He was a famous director. When he'd filmed Amon, he'd drifted on the sea for more than a month. He hadn't seen any complaints either. If he couldn't film outdoors, he might as well change his career. Stephen, is the filming done? Yes. Now, we just need editing. Also, how do you plan to operate this documentary? I'll leave it to you, Qin Zhao said. Qin Zhao had invested in the film industry a few times. But in the end, he was still a layman. This kind of operation needed someone like Stephen to operate. How about Rasva's company? He called me last time and scolded me for an hour and a half. I'm fine with anything. Qin Zhao shrugged. Qin Zhao had thought that Stephen had such a hard time filming. It was only right for him to earn some money for the operation. But since Stephen said so, Qin Zhao didn't object. Go to Wang for the operation in China. He definitely has connections in this area. Okay. Qin Zhao wasn't worried about not finding a broadcasting platform. After all, the local video websites and TV stations would probably fight to buy it if they heard that it was filmed by Stephen and that it would be broadcast in all countries. Stephen's influence was quite widespread in China. In the next 2 days, Stephen and Qin Zhao had a few meals with Wang He and Qin Ku. Stephen and Wang He were obviously going to invest in the studio. The two had basically discussed the details. Naturally, Wang He would leak the news. The domestic entertainment industry heard that Stephen had invested in Wang He and Qin Ku's studio. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't find out why Stephen did it. But this meant that Wang He and Qin Ku already had a ticket to Hollywood. In the past, they'd gotten roles in Hollywood movies. People in the entertainment industry thought that they were the capital behind the scenes. But it was different now. In Steven's future movie project. In Steven's future film projects, they'd be given priority if there were suitable roles. This also made other artists ask tentatively if they could invest in their studio. The result was, of course, negative. Chen Zhao already had a certain amount of shares. Wang He had sold his shares to Steven. He, who originally had the most shares, was now less than Chen Ku. Naturally, he would not thin out his own shares. It was impossible for Chen Ku to sell it. Everyone could see it now. Their studio shares were worth tens of thousands of gold coins. This was not just the valuation in the financial market. It was a shortcut to Hollywood. Chen Zhao also handed the broadcasting rights of the documentary to the studio. As for which channel it would be broadcasted on, Chen Zhao didn't care anymore. In any case, Wang He's men would make the necessary arrangements. The domestic affairs were almost settled as well. Liu Yibao's side was also speeding up the bidding for the Great Mysteries Island. The current situation was basically clear, and the chips of the major companies had also surfaced. There were only 3 companies that could compete with them. However, it was hard to say who would be the winner in the end. The only regret was that they couldn't find the spy who kidnapped Chen Zhao. However, Zhou Yiren promised to continue investigating. Naturally, they would take Chen Zhao's private plane back. After a 26-hour flight, Chen Zhao and Steven finally arrived in Los Angeles. Everything was normal at home. Chen Zhao video called his family every day. Everything was normal for the supernatural organization. There were more and more supernatural incidents that needed to be dealt with. Currently, a large number of supernatural incidents were popping up all over the United States. Some of them were caused by ghosts and monsters. However, a large portion of them were awakened ones. The past 3-night awakening pattern was no longer applicable. A large number of awakened ones did not pass the life and death retribution and inexplicably awakened. And it brought about a certain social impact. After Chen Zhao returned to L.A., it was still 2:00 every day. Chen Zhao still insisted on going to the 12th floor every day. The first fire was still refining his bloodline. Although the daily improvement was negligible. However, with the accumulation of time, there would still be significant improvements. To his surprise, the golden rock seemed to be affected by the first flame too. The golden rock was already in the stage of evolution. Its bloodline had not yet reached a bottleneck. The primordial flame contained infinite possibilities. President, you mentioned going to Huaxia for an exchange with the Special Intelligence Department's Huaxia branch. I've looked at it, and I personally hope to facilitate this exchange, but we have too much work to do now. Even the outer members have started accepting missions directly, and the exchange will take at least half a month. We've already accumulated more than 200 missions, and as time goes by, the workload will only increase. If we leave for another half a month, I'm afraid it will affect public security. Give me missions with detailed addresses and content. I'll try my best to complete them, Chen Zhao said. President, you'll be in charge. Yes. Missions that are straightforward and only need to kill some monsters or deliver something to run errands can be given to me. If it's a mission that requires complicated procedures, then forget it. Just set a time for the exchange. During the time, I'll be in charge of all the missions. Chen Zhao felt that as the president of the supernatural organization, he had to take on the responsibilities of the president too. The exchange with China was a rare opportunity. He had no choice. The supernatural organization was in an awkward position right now. In North America and even the entire Americas, the supernatural organization was a top-tier organization. But after leaving the Americas, the organizations outside didn't think much of the supernatural organization. they couldn't even talk to them. But now, he could communicate with a Chinese organization. Chen Zhao naturally couldn't miss this opportunity. All right then. West nodded. Then West slapped a 30-centimeter thick document on Chen Zhao's table. President, these are our current backlog of missions. Although Chen Zhao had just made a promise, he still felt a headache when he saw so many backlogged missions. Have you picked them all? Yes, they're all very straightforward missions. For the president, they're just running errands. It didn't matter to Chen Zhao how strong or weak these ghosts were. It was just that they were very far apart. Chapter 3274. Phoenix. Helper. High school student, Lebi. Chen Zhao flipped through the file and called Lebi according to the contact information on the file. Is this Ms. Lebi? Yes. May I know who you are? Did you request for help from the supernatural half a month ago? Yes. Are you from that supernatural organization? Yes, I am. Do you have time now? Now. Looked at the sky. It was already night. She didn't think it was a good idea to go out at this time. Plus, she'd only said it herself. I'm downstairs. Pulled open the curtains. Indeed, there was someone standing under the shade of the tree. Why are you here? You wrote your address when you applied. Did you forget? Okay, sorry. I'll come down now. Went downstairs carefully without waking up her family. In your request, you want to get rid of the evil spirit in your old house, right? Yes. Is it far from here? About 2 blocks from here. Studied Chen Zhao. Do you mind if I take you there? How are you going to guide me? Chen Zhao grabbed Viscera's wrist. Suddenly felt his body lighten, and then a powerful pressure hit him in the face. She couldn't keep her expression. The next moment, she paused. Chen Zhao looked down and asked, which direction? It's over there. Lebi calmed himself down with much difficulty. 10 seconds later, she finally arrived at the old house. Chen Zhao's little universe scanned the old house. 2 evil spirits. They were relatively dangerous and had killed people before. Chen Zhao casually created 2 balls of light and threw them into the house. All the windows in the house lit up immediately. They were just normal balls of light. They had no use other than illumination. In fact, the 2 evil spirits had already been crushed by Chen Zhao's little universe. Only dregs were left now. However, clients like Lebi couldn't believe it. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe that the evil spirits had been destroyed. So, Chen Zhao needed to create some light screens or special effects. This was to increase the credibility of his actions. Then, a black shadow broke through the window of the room. But in the next instant, the black shadow seemed to have been set ablaze. In an instant, it was burned to ashes. As expected, Lebi was shocked by this shocking scene. Just now. That was. Lebi could not close his mouth as he pointed at the scene just now. When the light disappeared, Chen Zhao said, "Okay, the evil spirit has been destroyed. I'll cast a purification spell and completely purify the evil aura in this house." Is it already over? Yes, 2 evil spirits. They're a bit strong, but they're perfectly restrained by my magic. It's fine now. Your parents can sell this house for a good price. Thank you so much. It's my job. You're welcome. I'll send you home now. He returned home faster than he came. When Lebi landed on the ground, his hair was completely messy. The lights in the house suddenly came on. Vishla, what are you doing outside alone? Vishla Lebby froze. When he turned around, Chen Zhao was already gone. Chen Zhao looked at the time. 5 minutes. Not bad. Next. Phew. It's really far. Houston's commission. Hey, is this Trony? I'm a member of the supernatural organization. You did a commission 10 days ago, right? Chen Zhao had spent 15 minutes on this mission. 10 of them had been spent on the road. If Chen Zhao went at full speed, he could reach Houston in a few seconds. However, there would be a high-energy reaction during flight. Chen Zhao would probably be targeted by anti-ballistic missiles before he even landed. It would be ridiculous if he landed in front of the client's house with a few tracking missiles. So, Chen Zhao still tried to get to his destination as soon as possible without being detected by radars and satellites. Chen Zhao did not plan to finish all the missions in one day. Under normal circumstances, he couldn't finish them in one day. Even if they were missions that had been selected by West. There were still some complicated missions. Maybe there was a deviation in the recording here. Or maybe the client didn't explain the mission clearly. When Chen Zhao carried out the mission, he couldn't just ignore it because it was slightly different from the mission. For example, Chen Zhao's third mission. The client was in San Francisco. His mission was to destroy an evil spirit that had been pestering him. But in reality, the evil spirit was his dead girlfriend. His girlfriend had no ill intentions. She just stayed by his side because of her obsession with him. It was easy to destroy her soul. One slap could do it. However, this kind of behavior was too outrageous. So, Chen Zhao patiently explained to the client. If the client didn't mind, then the mission would end here. If the client didn't mind, then the supernatural organization would contact some special spiritualists. They would be in charge of purifying the soul and letting her go where she should go. The supernatural organization currently lacked spiritualists. They were people who prayed for the dead. In Eastern terms, they would send the dead to heaven. They would let go of their obsession and return to the 6 realms of reincarnation. Some missions were simple, like Vishla Lebby's. They were just 2 weak evil spirits. He just had to destroy them. Then he would add a light effect. Make the client believe that he had cast a spell. In one day, Chen Zhao had finished 10 missions. He was planning to call it a day and was about to go home. Suddenly, an unfamiliar call came in. Excuse me, are you a spiritualist? How do you know this number? I called a supernatural organization. They said that you're in charge of my mission. I want to know, I've been applying for it for a month. When can you finish it for me? A month? Can you tell me your personal information again? I'll check the progress. Carlos Morin. I live in Nashville. Did you find out? Oh, your mission is that there are shadows coming in and out of your house every night. You suspect that there's an evil spirit in your house, right? Yes. How is it? Did my mission go through? Yes, it did, Chen Zhao said. I just happened to take over this mission. I'm in Nashville now and heading to your house. Chapter 3275. Are you in Nashville already? The man clearly didn't expect Chen Zhao to be in Nashville already. There seems to be a lot of wind over there. Oh, I'm in the car, Chen Zhao answered casually. I'm already at your address, Chen Zhao replied casually, but it doesn't look like someone lives here. Chen Zhao landed and realized that 699 Deer King Street wasn't a residential area. Instead, it was a cemetery. Are you here? Wait a moment. I'll be there soon. About 20 minutes later, a car stopped beside the cemetery. Two people got out of the car. Chen Zhao glanced at them and frowned. The two men hid their auras very well. However, they didn't have any special techniques to hide their auras. They weren't normal people. Like Chen Zhao, they were spiritualists. They could only hide their auras with their own abilities. If it was an ordinary spiritual controller, it would indeed be very difficult to detect their cultivation. However, they couldn't hide from Chen Zhao. Before Chen Zhao, they couldn't hide at all. So, whether this mission was really like what it was in the mission description was. There were clearly some discrepancies. Which one of you is Mr. Carlos Malouin? Chen Zhao asked. The mission said that there was an evil spirit in Carlos Malouin's house. However, with the two men's abilities, an evil spirit might not be their match. Unless it was a ghost king in their house. I am, a man in his 30s said, stepping forward. What about this one? This is my older brother, right Malouin? Then take me to your house. I'm in a hurry and hope to purify it as soon as possible. The two brothers exchanged glances. Okay, sir, please follow us. Carlos Malouin said. Oh, sir, how should I address you? I'm Chinese. You can call me Chin. Okay, Mr. Chin. Chen Zhao got into the two men's car. I don't understand why you gave me the address of a cemetery. That's not a good client. Oh, I wrote the wrong address, Carlos Malouin said casually. The car stopped before a house. Mr. Chen, we're here. Please get off. Chen Zhao looked at the house before him. Is it here? The house looked like it had been around for a long time. The whole house was filled with a strong spiritual energy. If there really was an evil spirit inside, it would indeed be very powerful. We'll wait for you here. We don't dare to go inside. Chen Zhao nodded and entered the house. However, after entering the house, the door was locked with a click. Chen Zhao looked back at the door and continued walking. At this moment, there was a commotion in the room. It was as if there were many people, or rather, a family. Old people, children, women, men, babies, they were playing, resting, crying, angry, and happy. The entire house was filled with the emotions of these people. Another host has arrived. I hope this time, hee, a voice came from the room. This voice was an amalgamation of all the previous voices. It was just one sentence, but it was heavily emphasized. A spiritual body appeared before Chen Zhao. It was a six-faced evil spirit, one that Chen Zhao had never seen before. There were 6 faces on its head, an old person, a child, a woman, a man, a baby, and a ferocious-looking face at the back of its head. Don't run, please don't run, or else I'll be angry. You don't want to see me angry, the six-faced evil spirit said in a strange tone. The six-faced evil spirit said in a strange tone, Human, I will allow your soul to escape, but you must leave your body behind. Chen Zhao opened his arms. If you want my body, then come. The six-faced evil spirit pounced at Chen Zhao. However, it didn't take over Chen Zhao's body as expected. Instead, it passed through Chen Zhao's body. The six-faced evil spirit was stunned. What's going on? So polite. I didn't resist at all. Do you want to try again? The six-faced evil spirit was infuriated by Chen Zhao's words. It pounced again. But this time, it missed again. It passed through as if it had hit a wall. Chen Zhao yawned. Are you serious? Didn't you say you want to take over my body? You damned human, I'm going to tear you apart. The six-faced evil spirit was furious. It felt like the human was playing with it. Carlos, do you think the demonic spirit can succeed? Carlos Malouin hesitated for a moment before shaking his head. I reckon it'll be very difficult. That demon spirit has the emotions of 100 people and the faces of 1,000 people. Even if we find him the body of a spiritualist, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult to bear his power. How did that guy appear? I've never seen such a terrifying spirit before. It's not natural. It's man-made. Man-made? Can someone create such a monstrous spirit? Apparently, this method is a combination of Eastern soul training and Western death magic. First, it needs a family with 5 people. The family members must be an old person, a couple, a child, and an infant. Then, they'll be killed in order. Then, the spirits of the family of 5 will be placed in the hospital morgue to absorb the corpse aura in the morgue for 81 days. Why is it so similar to Thai ghost raising? Yes, it's Thailand's method of raising ghosts. This method is called the soul refinement method. In the East, the soul refinement method also means home. The vengeful spirit of extreme mean is actually not particularly ferocious in the East. However, when combined with the Western death magic, it evolved into the ferocious demonic spirit of today. The vengeful spirit of extreme mean is specifically fed with special food. What food? The soul of a wife who was abused by her husband, the soul of a student who was bullied by his classmates, the soul of a child who was abandoned by his parents, the soul of a man whose lover was stolen by his best friend, the soul of a loser who was cheated of all his assets, the soul of the unemployed, the soul of the disabled. So, you're looking for souls filled with hatred. That's right. It's through this method of feeding, one a day, that the ultimate demon spirit is finally born. Carlos Malouin said. Then, what about its owner? No one can control this ultimate demonic spirit, not even its creator. In the end, the owner will be devoured by the ultimate demonic spirit and become its food. What a pitiful guy. Now, the ultimate demonic spirit is only one step away. It's missing a host that can store its soul. Then, its power will be unprecedentedly strong. However, since the invention of this method, there hasn't been a complete ultimate demonic spirit. It's already so terrifying now. How terrifying will it be if it really appears in its complete form? Chapter 3276. Just then, the door opened. Chen Zhao walked out of the house. Carlos Malouin and Wright Malouin were both stunned. How had he walked out? No. He could walk out now. Had the ultimate demon spirit succeeded? This man's body could bear the ultimate demon spirit. In other words, this man was actually the ultimate demon spirit. Disbelief filled the 2 brothers' faces. Before this, they tricked over a dozen spiritualists through various methods. Among them, there were 2 or 3 spiritualists who were very famous. But the ultimate demon spirit's parasitism had all failed. They hadn't expected that the nameless spiritualist they'd found today would successfully let the ultimate demon spirit possess him. The 2 brothers glanced at each other, planning to go over and ask. But the next moment, they saw a black liquid seeping out of the ground at the door. The 2 brothers couldn't help but look inside. In the darkness, they saw the ultimate demon spirit. The ultimate demon spirit hadn't possessed this man. A lot of questions popped up in their heads. The next moment, they realized something was wrong. Because the ultimate demon spirit seemed to be in pain on the hallway. The source of his pain seemed to be the black liquid coming from the ground. The black liquid was corroding the ultimate demon spirit's body. But the ultimate demon spirit's spirit body was also black. So it didn't seem obvious. But the ultimate demon spirit clearly wanted to break free of the black liquid on the ground. But every time he struggled, the black liquid would only stick tighter to him. The 2 brothers' expressions were unnatural. What had happened? How could the ultimate demon spirit be like this? The ultimate devil spirit looked at the two brothers in despair and reached out a hand. Save me, please, please, help me. He cried out in a low voice. Behind the ultimate demon spirit, the black liquid churned and covered him. But the ultimate demon spirit was very tenacious. He burrowed out again, but he still couldn't break free of the black liquid. A chill rose from the bottom of the two brothers' feet. Was this still the insufferably arrogant and vicious ultimate demon spirit? In the past, they'd suffered a lot from the ultimate demon spirit's threats and oppression. But now, they only felt a sense of desolation. The ultimate demon spirit grew more and more desperate. However, his aura was constantly weakening. Like a deflated balloon, he started shriveling. Black liquid seeped out of each of its facial features. Finally, its aura completely disappeared. The black liquid covered him again. This time, the ultimate demon spirit wasn't able to crawl out. It was completely swallowed by the black liquid. Then the black liquid started flowing back. It flowed out of the room, back to Chen Zhao's feet, and finally disappeared. Without saying a word, the two of them broke into a run. But the next moment, black liquid seeped out of his feet again. Then, at an even faster speed, it circled in front of the two brothers and turned into the color of fire, as if it was lava. The current dark magma was no longer pure dark magma. As Chen Zhao's power and level increased, he could switch between lava and the dark serum at will. Sir. Mr. Chen. Please. Please listen to our explanation. We were forced to do this. Chen Zhao smiled and shook his head. Shoo, you don't have to say anything. I understand. Do you really understand? Of course, it's normal for humans to make such a decision based on their desire to survive. If it were me, I would probably make the same decision. Thank you for your understanding. Can we go now? Chen Zhao was still smiling. I can understand, but that doesn't mean I accept it. So, sorry. I'm in a hurry. The surrounding magma suddenly lunged at the two brothers. No, the two brothers wailed. The next moment, the house in front of them exploded into pieces with a loud bang. The magma returned to Chen Zhao's body. The two brothers' corpses had also turned into charcoal. The police could only conclude that they died in a fire. Chen Zhao took out the letter. The next one is, he encountered a small accident during the mission. It wasted some time, but it was a boring mission. Such a small accident could make Chen Zhao more energetic. Chen Zhao had originally planned to call it a day and go home. Now that he was energetic again, he planned to do a few more missions before going back. Morning, darling. Chen Zhao made breakfast. Fei Lai rubbed her hair. Morning. A while later, the children woke up one after another. Portia and Zephra also arrived soon after. Portia came to get breakfast out of habit. She was a bit tight on money recently. She couldn't help it. She was the kind of person who didn't learn her lesson. Chen Zhao had pressured her so much earlier that she wanted to die. She almost said that she would go to the union to sue Chen Zhao. But because she bought a branded bag a few days ago, she started pestering Chen Zhao to borrow money again. Chen Zhao still lent her money. He still charged her higher interest than the bank. She also owed the bank a lot of money. So, apart from Chen Zhao, she couldn't find anyone who was willing to lend her money. Even loan sharks weren't willing to lend her money. Because her credibility was too poor. Boss, if you don't lend me some money, your beautiful assistant will really go to San Fernando Valley to film a movie, Portia begged Chen Zhao bitterly. That's great. Haven't you always dreamed of being a female star? Maybe this is a good chance to debut. Portia gave Qin Zhao the middle finger and threw herself on the sofa angrily. Fei Lai never cared about Portia and Portia never borrowed money from Fei Lai. Portia, why don't you borrow money from Zefra? Fei Lai asked, smiling. She's the same as you. She won't lend me money at all. Then why do you think your boss will lend you money? Because he can't wait to push me into an even deeper abyss. Ha! Qin Zhao chuckled. Okay, keep working hard. I'm going to work now. Miss Fei Lai, do you have any openings in the coastal rescue team? The ones with super high salaries. It's best if you don't have to do anything but lie on the beach and bask in the sun every day. I'll ask for you. Fei Lai didn't want to listen to Portia's nonsense. After Fei Lai left, Qin Zhao crossed his legs and said, I have a job here. Do you want it? Is the salary high? Your pay is based on the amount of work. The more you do, the more you get. What job? Supernatural incidents, Qin Zhao said. These missions cost $20,000 each. They're all within Los Angeles. Chapter 3277. Boss, Portia was just a normal person half a year ago. I don't think she can complete your tasks. Zevra didn't want Portia to take the risk. Even though Portia had awakened for a while, Portia still didn't have the resolve to fight. She was just a normal person who suddenly had strange powers. Portia's awakened ability was actually very strong. At least it had great potential. Theoretically, if she had enough fragrance, she might be able to fight Qin Zhao before her body collapsed. If the entire earth was planted with tulips, however, apart from randomly using her abilities, Portia had never been able to use them. She hadn't participated in a real battle even once. She accepted Qin Zhao's tasks with this level. Was she kidding? However, Portia, who was red from owing money, couldn't care less anymore. I'll do it, I'll do it. Portia had always been like this. She didn't need to think about most things. To her, solving the problem in front of her was the most important. She would only be afraid of danger when she faced it. Boss. Zevra looked at Qin Zhao helplessly. Fine, fine. I'll go with Portia too. Very good. Your reward is $100,000 per mission. This was what Qin Zhao had been waiting for. Wait. Why is Zevra's pay so much higher than mine for the same mission? Pooh. Portia clutched her stomach and wailed on the ground. Zevra moved her knuckles. Is this reason enough? Oh. You could have told me in a more peaceful way. Portia said in pain. I'm just afraid that you don't understand. Zevra sighed. This little bitch really wasn't afraid of death. She just had to cause trouble everywhere. Qin Zhao had even become friends with her. Now, he had to carry a gun for her again. Be her babysitter. This feeling was really annoying. Zevra took the documents Qin Zhao handed her. Boss, these 3 missions shouldn't be difficult for you, right? Maybe you can finish them in a day. Qin Zhao pointed at a stack of documents not far away. These are the missions I'm responsible for. 3 missions in a day was already very inefficient for Qin Zhao. Zefra stopped talking. Don't tell me you're taking on all the missions from the supernatural organization. Not all of them, but most of them. The supernatural organization has a lot of missions, and they'll need to go out for a while, so I have to let them have a peaceful holiday. Portia, you must listen to my orders completely when carrying out the commission. If you dare to disobey my orders, Zevra, you can kill her. I'll hire the best lawyer for you. Portia hissed at Qin Zhao and grinned. When would he be able to escape from the clutches of this devil boss? But when he thought about the money he owed, Portia felt that her future was filled with darkness. He owed Qin Zhao 1.25 million half a year ago. In the past 6 months, not only did she not pay him back, but she also borrowed money from him many times. Including the interest, it was already $2 million USD. It was impossible to resist, not even in this lifetime. Qin Zhao didn't have to worry about Zephyr following Portia. After all, Zephyr had fought a dragon before. Moreover, he was a dragon slayer in the truest sense. The missions they accepted weren't difficult either. At least they weren't disaster level or disaster level. Out of the 3 missions, the only one that was slightly difficult was the first night of awakening. Qin Zhao felt that this mission was the most time-consuming. Last time, Portia had awakened on the first night too. Then, there was the difficulty of at least the 3rd night. So this time, Qin Zhao reminded Zephyr. If she really ran into trouble, call him. That night, Qin Zhao received Zephyr's call. But it wasn't to ask for help. Instead, it was to report on the mission. The mission for the first night of awakening had been completed. This mission was rather challenging. But there were no accidents. It was indeed a normal night of awakening. The client was the spiritualist's family. They had a certain amount of combat power themselves. So, the first night ended very quickly. As for the other 2 missions, they shouldn't be difficult for Zephyr either. The next day, when Zephyr and Portia arrived, Qin Zhao noticed that Zephyr's expression wasn't right. Zephyr, what happened? With a cold expression, Zephyr glanced at the awkward Portia. Ask this woman. It seemed that Zephyr was really angry this time. Qin Zhao looked at Zephyr. Then you explain the situation. Nothing. Didn't we all finish the mission? Portia tried to change the topic. Clearly, she didn't want to talk about what had happened last night. Then, Qin Zhao looked at Zephyr. What exactly happened? He believed that Zephyr definitely had a reason. Zephyr was young, but she had a maturity and experience that others her age couldn't compare to. On the other hand, Portia was the opposite. She was childish in every way. Last night, after completing the first night's mission, we went on to the second mission. It was going well, and we sealed the evil spirit. However, this woman actually stole the jewelry from the client's house, and the jewelry she stole turned out to be a magic tool. After I exposed her, she secretly threw the jewelry away, and it just happened to be thrown into the sealing circle. The evil spirit immediately rushed out, and its strength greatly increased. She and I almost died there. Qin Zhao was speechless. Portia was even more embarrassed. I saw that the jewelry fell on the ground and I picked it up for the client. It was so messy and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to find it. Zephyr didn't want to talk anymore. Qin Zhao glanced at Portia. I told you yesterday that you should shoot her. Zephyr was too soft-hearted. She knew that if she didn't ask, Portia would definitely run off to do the mission herself for money. She would definitely run off to do the mission for money. By then, it would be hard to say whether she would live or die. I'll give you all her reward for yesterday's mission, Qin Zhao said. How can you do this? Portia immediately wailed. Or you can shoot her now so that she doesn't get in the way again. Portia immediately looked at Zephyr with watery eyes. Forget it, I think she's had enough of a lesson. Just pay her what she deserves. Hearing Zephyr's words, Portia immediately smiled. Zephyr, you're the best. Oh, boss, where's my money? I already deducted this month's interest. What? Boss, what are you talking about? You're saying that I worked all night and didn't get a single cent. Chapter 3278. Portia was already crying from anger. She lay on the ground and threw a tantrum. If he didn't pay, she wouldn't get up today. Then Chen Zhao ignored her. Zevra ignored her too. When she was tired from crying, she went to play games. At noon, she returned to the table as if nothing had happened. Portia, do you still want to do the mission? I don't care. I won't accept it if you don't pay. Did I not pay? I just deducted your payment from the interest. I don't care. I want cash. Check is fine too. Fine. The interest is there anyway. The more you owe, the more you'll have to pay in the future. Portia enjoyed the meal very much. Interest and paying were all in the future. Right now, she just wanted to see money so that she could pay back her credit card. She was an ostrich now. As long as it wasn't in front of her, everything would be fine. In the afternoon, Chen Zhao, Portia, and Zevra were having a barbecue when Navika Lena arrived. Boss, this is the account report sent by Mr. Liu from China. Please take a look. Also, he said in his email that he's already obtained the development rights for the Big Quinn Island project. He'll contact you today and talk to you directly. Navika was already Chen Zhao's most important assistant. But she wasn't as close to Chen Zhao's family as Portia and Zevra. For one, she was doing her job. For another, she was just a normal person. So, she didn't know Chen Zhao's family secrets. Okay, thank you. Do you want to stay and eat? No, Navika said. I still have last quarter's financial report. I haven't finished the income and expenditure report yet. She glanced at Portia and Zevra, expressing her disdain for their self-deprecation. If they had the time, they might as well find something else to do. With Chen Zhao's enormous assets, there were too many things he had to deal with. Other than her job, there were many details that she could get commission for. If she helped Chen Zhao negotiate with Northern Gravity Group like last time, the commission she got would be enough for her to work for a few years. Every time she saw Zevra and Portia, they were just playing. She rarely saw them do anything for Chen Zhao. She didn't understand why Chen Zhao could tolerate them. She felt that Chen Zhao could fire Portia and Zafra. Then, they would give their salary to him, and he alone could complete the workload of 3 people. After Navika Lena left, Zefra came out with a stack of missions. Boss, are we going to choose by ourselves this time? Alright, if there are any quests that you can do, just accept them. Chen Zhao didn't expect them to complete many missions. Just like yesterday, being able to complete 3 quests in a day was already considered a very good efficiency. It was almost impossible to go any higher. Last night, Chen Zhao had completed 20 missions alone. Moreover, the entire country was flying all over the place. The meeting date between the Supernatural Organization and the Huaxia Special Intelligence Division was approaching. Chen Zhao had almost completed all the missions on his side. This time, other than the outer members, all the core members participated. Chen Zhao booked a private plane for them. Chen Zhao's private jet couldn't fit so many people either. Mr. Chen, I'm for Lerby. Are you satisfied with the yachts produced by our company? Not bad, Chen Zhao said. Then, you said that you want to order 7 more cruises. I'll place an order for 3 this year. If I'm satisfied with the delivery of the 3 ships, I'll place more orders. In addition, I want each ship to have a unique design. This is my gift to every child, so I don't want to repeat the same design. As for the details, you can send someone over to discuss it with my representative. Okay. I'll report it to the company right now. This might be the largest order since Seagate was established. No, it was the largest order for a yacht company in the world. Apart from the retailers. However, even if the retailer ordered 100 yachts, it would not be enough. The profits probably wouldn't be as great as ordering a super cruise. In less than 2 days, Seagate sent a huge negotiation team. Chen Zhao also called Alex's legal team to take charge of this negotiation. Ofer Lerby personally came to Chen Zhao to build a relationship. He was the leader this time because he'd been the one who'd negotiated the order last time. Seagate naturally thought that he had a good relationship with Chen Zhao. But this wasn't a small business. They could talk about friendship. However, it was impossible for them to make concessions during the negotiation. The current negotiation was naturally on Chen Zhao's side. Alex held the initiative firmly in her hands. After all, this wasn't a fair negotiation in the first place. Chen Zhao was irreplaceable as a consumer. But Seagate wasn't his only choice. Chen Zhao had too many choices. He could switch to a bigger and better company. Actually, Alex's one sentence during the negotiation was enough to make the Seagate representative speechless. If the price is the same, why would our boss choose your company? Talk about feelings. Believe it or not, if word gets out, countless yacht companies will be willing to come and lick our boss's boots. Also, Alex wasn't just saying it. The second day after the negotiation started, she really spread the news. On the same day, she received inquiries from all the top 20 yacht companies in the world. Thus, the Seagate representative kept retreating at the negotiation table. On one hand, they had to grasp this opportunity with all their might. They couldn't just hand over the fat meat that was already in their mouths. Actually, the point of the negotiation was how much their company could earn. It was impossible for them to make a loss. The fact that they could continue the negotiation meant that the price hadn't reached the cost yet. Every 0.1% discount was worth millions of dollars. The negotiation lasted for 20 days. Finally, Alex handed the contract to Chen Zhao. She'd saved Chen Zhao hundreds of millions of dollars in expenses and he'd paid her handsomely. Chen Zhao was still as busy as a dog every day. Although the backlog of commissions had been cleared, there were still new ones appearing every day. There were quite a lot of them too. Furthermore, the number of paranormal incidents in the United States had increased exponentially in the past year. Now, Chen Zhao was trying to deal with all the commissions every day. Of course, the time-consuming ones were left to the outer members of the society. On the other hand, the spiritual organizations were accepting a lot of commissions. This actually reduced Chen Zhao's pressure quite a bit. Now, Chen Zhao only hoped that the negotiation could end as soon as possible. But Chen Zhao couldn't rush them. Instead of calling it a negotiation, it was more like giving the supernatural organization a long holiday.
Chapter 3279. Hello. Is this the supernatural organization? Yes. Who is it? I'm Sun Gu. I made an appointment with the supernatural organization 2 days ago. From your voice, you should be the one who contacted me. You said you'd help me in 3 days, so I'm calling to ask if you can send someone over to help me. Oh, I remember now. Wait a moment. Chen Zhao quickly flipped through the document. He finally found Sang's document. His daughter seemed to be possessed by a demon. The document was marked as urgent. Chen Zhao had an impression of this. However, he'd had a lot of missions these days. So, he'd forgotten about this urgent mission. I'll confirm the address with you. If there's no problem, I'll send someone over. Okay. After confirming the address, Chen Zhao immediately rushed over. Now, he was in charge of accepting and carrying out missions. Soon, he arrived at Sang's residence. Hello, Mr. Sang. I'm from the supernatural organization. Sang looked at Chen Zhao. After some thought, he said, "You're the one who called me twice, right? Aren't you the operator?" Chen Zhao was a bit awkward. I'm also in charge of carrying out missions. Of course, we have a lot of people. You can call me because this area is under my jurisdiction, so most missions are assigned to me. Oh, I see. But you're a professional, right? Yes. Don't worry. I'm a very professional exorcist. Good. Please come in. Singh was quite well off. He lived in a high-end neighborhood. The decorations were more luxurious too. However, when he reached the bedroom, he saw a lot of messiness and damage. This is... My daughter did it. Singh's expression was serious. When he reached his daughter's door, he asked again to confirm, Mr. Chen, are you sure it's okay? Don't worry. Chen Zhao was very patient with clients. At least, he wouldn't lose his temper at them most of the time. On one hand, they were laymen, so they would naturally be suspicious of the so-called spiritualist and exorcist's identity. On the other hand, they or their families were being attacked by supernatural events. They naturally wanted to get rid of the trouble as soon as possible, so it was understandable that they repeatedly confirmed Chen Zhao's abilities and identity. Unless it was the Carlos brothers' trap a few days ago. Only in such a situation would Chen Zhao counterattack. Sengo carefully opened the door handle. Chen Zhao saw his daughter's room. The room, which was originally pink, now looked like it had been invaded by a wild beast. It was a mess, and there were scratch marks everywhere. The walls, the ceiling, the furniture, everything. Lying on the bed was a girl about 10 years old. The girl's hands and feet were spread out, and all four of them were tied up. Senj was a little scared and worried. Mr. Chen, are you all right? Don't worry. Chen Zhao nodded slightly. I won't joke around with your daughter and your safety.
At this moment, the quiet girl suddenly opened her eyes. Following that, the girl's pupils began to turn black. The whole house began to shake. Black liquid flowed under the girl's skin. The girl floated up slightly and faced Chen Zhao. But she seemed unable to break free from the ropes that bound her. Another exorcist. Are you here to die? The girl grinned. She was supposed to be an obedient and adorable young girl, but at this moment, she made one's hair stand on end. My dear father, are you so eager for your daughter to die? Sengo was already paralyzed in front of the door. Mr. Chen, please. Chen Zhao crossed his arms in front of his chest and tapped his chin with his fingers, as if thinking. Mr. Chen, hurry up and exorcise the demon. Wait. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry. He had been observing the girl. After a long while, Chen Zhao looked at her. You can devour other people's fear and turn it into your own power, right? I've seen demons like this before. When you tried to devour my fear, I felt that it was very familiar. The girl stared at Chen Zhao. Since you know, hurry up and scram. Are you panicking? Or we can talk. Chen Zhao smiled at the girl. Or I could drag you out of the girl's body and talk. As he spoke, Chen Zhao's palm turned into lava, emitting a scorching heat. The lava dripped from Chen Zhao's palm and burned a hole in the wooden floor. You definitely don't want to be dragged out by me, right? Human, if you forcefully pull me out, this girl will die too. You're an exorcist, right? You don't want to see that, right? The demon in the girl's body said in terror. As a descendant of the King of Fear, when you feel fear, it's your most desperate moment. Seeing that Chen Zhao could change the attitude of the demon and his daughter with a few words, Sengo was overjoyed. Mr. Chen, hurry up and destroy this demon. Chen Zhao waved his hand. No rush. Some things can't be solved with violence, right, descendant of fear? What do you want to talk about? If you want me to leave the girl's body, that's impossible. Are you twins with the girl? Chen Zhao asked. the descendant of fear in the girl's body didn't come from hell. Chen Zhao could tell. After all, he often traveled between the human world and hell. He had seen many demons in hell. Demons in hell always had a strong smell of sulfur. However, the descendant of fear didn't have that, and she wasn't strong. She felt like a newborn demon. But how could there be newborn demons in the human world? Especially a descendant of a demon king. So, there was only one possibility. This descendant of fear wasn't an outsider. It was born from the girl's own bloodline. Chen Zhao guessed that she might have awakened her bloodline. The descendant of fear in the girl's bloodline also had its own consciousness. Being a twin was a rather troublesome thing because it meant that the souls of the two were closely linked. Chen Zhao's slap could pull the fear demon out of the body, but it would also pull the girl's soul out. "Mr. Chen, what are you saying?" Chen Zhao glanced at Sengo. "More accurately, this demon is also your daughter. She's your daughter's sister. She's always been in your daughter's body and blood. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "But, how is that possible? I'm just a normal person. My wife is also a normal person. How can we have a demon daughter?" "There's no doubt that your or your wife's ancestor has a demon ancestor. It's very thin, but it does exist. Now that the demon bloodline in your daughter has awakened, in principle, this demon is your daughter." Chapter 3280. Chen Zhao looked back at Sing and said, "To put it simply, if you want the original woman to be safe, then the demon can't be destroyed. I can only make it a secondary consciousness. If you want to completely destroy the demon, then your daughter will die too. At least, I can't destroy the demon without hurting your daughter. Of course, you can find other spiritualists, but I can't guarantee that they'll be more professional than me. Mr. Chen, is there no other way? Is there no way at all? My method is simple. It's purely a violent exorcism, so I can't do the delicate things." Chen Zhao glanced at the girl and continued, "If you can find a more professional spiritualist, they might be able to provide a third method, such as sealing the demon's consciousness. If there are no accidents, maybe your daughter can live a peaceful life." "Will there be any accidents?" 50%, Chen Zhao said. "Even if the demon's consciousness is sealed, its power will gradually grow. One day, when the seal fails, your daughter's consciousness will be completely devoured by the demon's consciousness. So if they coexist, won't they be devoured? That's the problem of habit. If you lift weights every day, after 3 to 5 years, even if you can't reach the level of an athlete, you won't be too far off. But if you don't do anything, what will happen if you lift a 100-kilogram barbell in the future? It's the same for your daughter. If they coexist, your daughter will gradually adapt to the demon's consciousness. Moreover, the demon's consciousness is born from her bloodline, so your daughter's consciousness will always be dominant. Also, the demon's consciousness is still your daughter." Chen Zhao looked at Sing. "Of course, the decision is up to you." It was not an easy choice for a father to make. Just as Chen Zhao said, the demon's consciousness was born from his daughter's body, or rather awakened. Therefore, he agreed that it was Sang's daughter. After Chen Zhao explained the situation, it would be a difficult decision to kill any one of them or leave two alive. Sing looked at Chen Zhao. "Mr. Chen, what if I only want to seal the demon's power? I can't do it. The demon's power and consciousness coexist with your daughter's consciousness. There's no such thing as sealing power alone. But I also need to live a normal life. If she remains in this state, whether it's me, my daughter, or the demon consciousness, none of us can live a normal life." Chen Zhao looked at the girl on the bed. "Did you hear that? While your father is making his choice, you should also make your own choice. Do you want to accept your identity and live together with your sisters, or do you want to wait until the day your father is tortured by you to the point of a mental breakdown, and then find a spiritualist to get rid of you? It didn't matter if they came from hell or the human world. Evil or not, demons still had to consider their interests. There was no such thing as a demon having to risk his own life to make this family into a mess. There were such situations, but that was because these demons were not complete demons. They were pure evil. A pure chaotic and disorderly demon consciousness naturally only knew destruction and slaughter. A complete demon would have the same or similar complex thoughts as a human. Chen Zhao had interacted with too many demons, so he knew that evil was only relative. There was no absolute evil, nor was there absolute good. The demon consciousness in the girl's body was new. However, it was more like a copy of the girl's original self with the addition of the demon's inheritance, so it had a different self-awareness from the girl. But it was nonsense to say that she was born evil. I want at least 3 days a week to be my personal time, the descendant of fear said. That's impossible. Chen Zhao shook his head. This body is your sister's body, after all. Your only choice is to appear with your sister's permission. It can't be 1, 3, 5, 5, or 2, 3, 4, or 6, hers. Then what's the difference between me and going to jail? You have to understand that you're a derivative of your sister. Your consciousness and power all exist for your sister. Unless one day you're strong enough to appear without a physical body, your only choice is to have a good relationship with your sister. Chen Zhao paused. Or you can teach your sister to use your power. This will give you more opportunities to communicate. At least 2 days a month, just 2 days, the descendant of fear said, almost begging. I agree, Sengo said seriously. Sengo didn't just compromise. More accurately, he felt sympathy for her. When Chen Zhao called the demon consciousness his daughter, he was also moved by this. Once such feelings were born, it was hard to stay calm. Imagine being a daughter who could only hide in a dark corner for the rest of her life. What would it feel like to be a father? That was why he agreed to the descendant of fear's request without discussing it with his eldest daughter. Actually, Chen Zhao could understand it. After all, Chen Zhao was a father too. In the end, Chen Zhao didn't do anything. The mission this time was more like a mediation for a family. His daughter also returned to normal. The descendant of fear kept her promise. Sengu told her daughter everything that had happened. Chen Zhao added on. His daughter also sympathized with the other consciousness in her body. She didn't complain about her father's decision. Sengo sent Chen Zhao out. Mr. Chen, thank you very much for your help. You're welcome. I didn't actually do anything. This mission was rather special to Chen Zhao. He had completed so many missions. This was the only one where he didn't use force. Take good care of your daughter, including her. Relationships need to be built. I know I can't give her a new body, but I want her to be happy too. It's good that you think like that. Just as Chen Zhao was about to leave, 5 spiritualists came in. There were 3 men and 2 women. Are you the one causing trouble? One of them was dressed the same as Hallie's. He looked at Chen Zhao coldly. Chen Zhao frowned. Mr. Sengo, do you know them? Sengo was also confused. Who are you? You don't need to know who we are. You only need to know that the reason you're still alive is because we thought you were unimportant. But now it seems that we were wrong. We should have killed you long ago to prevent you from affecting our plans. Chapter 3281. The gloomy, dispirited man raised his hand. An evil spirit started coiling around it. The next moment, the black spirit flew out of his hand and shot toward Sengo. Sengo froze in fear. He didn't even know how to dodge. However, the black spirit was blocked by another hand. Chen Zhao reached out and grabbed it. Do you know that it's taboo to attack innocent people? Chen Zhao squeezed the black spirit in his hand gently. The gloomy, dispirited man sneered. You dare to touch my black death with your body. You won't end up any better. Really? Chen Zhao looked at his palm. It had indeed turned black. It had been corroded by the black spirit's death aura. Mr. Sengo, you can go back first. Mr. Chen. Don't worry. Leave it to me. You won't be of much help here. Then, okay. Sengo carefully retreated into the house and closed the door softly. The moment the door closed, Chen Zhao crushed the Black Death monster. You dare to kill my Black Death? Then you'll replace. Before the gloomy, dispirited man could finish, his hands fell to the ground. My hands. My hands. Oh no, the fastest to react was a woman in a purple t-shirt. Her right palm glowed with purple light, but before she could push it out, her right palm broke too. Her right palm was also broken. It wasn't the kind that was cut off, but it was torn off. Her body seemed to be pulled by some force and she fell to the ground. Ah! The woman in the purple t-shirt screamed in pain. The others felt their scalps go numb. The fat man beside them had just taken a step forward when his body was lifted upside down. His body was lifted upside down, and his left foot was torn off. The remaining man and woman didn't dare to move anymore. They didn't understand what had happened at all. The man hadn't done anything at all. But out of their 3 companions, one had lost 2 arms, 1 palm, and 1 leg. This was practically tearing off all their limbs. They'd never seen something so cruel. In the past, they'd encountered spiritualists. They couldn't even survive 1 round of attacks. However, this ordinary-looking spiritualist in front of him was indescribably terrifying. Kill him. Kill him. Kill him. The gloomy and dispirited man roared in pain. Both of his arms had been chopped off. At this moment, he had no combat power to speak of. Magma appeared under Chen Zhao's feet. Like a snake, it coiled around the gloomy, dispirited man. The gloomy, dispirited man let out a heart-wrenching scream. The scorching lava scorched his skin. In the next moment, the lava poured directly into the cold and dispirited man's mouth. Rumble, rumble, the gloomy and dispirited man died, and he died in great pain. By the time his body fell, his organs had already been roasted. Lava seeped out of his cracked skin. At this moment, Sengo wanted to come out. But before he could open the door, Chen Zhao stopped him. After all, Sengo was just an ordinary person. The scene outside was rather bloody. Mr. Chen, are you all right? I'm fine. It'll be over soon. It's better if you don't come out. Chen Zhao's lava turned into a dark shadow again. First, it completely wiped away the ashes of the gloomy, dispirited man. Then it engulfed the blood and broken limbs at the scene. Finally, it picked up the few people and left. They either no longer had the ability to fight, or they didn't have the courage to resist. Thus, they allowed Chen Zhao to bind them and leave. Chen Zhao brought them to a secluded place. Only then did he release them. Tell me, who are you? Why did you attack Sengo? Did you also awaken his daughter's demonic bloodline? No one spoke. It seemed like no one was willing to speak first. Of course, Chen Zhao never cared about their stubbornness. The dark shadow turned into countless blades, dragging the woman in the purple shirt into it. Ah, the woman was sliced into pieces by the countless spinning blades. Blood splattered everywhere. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. This went on for a minute. Then the woman went completely silent. When the dark magma retreated, the woman's corpse was no longer human. This group of people had never seen such a cruel scene. In the past, when they faced spiritualists, even if they were individually strong, most of them would be merciful. They had never met an enemy who would kill them so cruelly. The man before them was different from all the spiritualists they'd met and interacted with in the past. Powerful, cold, merciless, and merciless. I only need one person who can answer my question. I'll kill everyone else. Don't expect me to be merciful, and don't think that you'll get lucky. You can't beat me, and you can't escape from me. In Chen Zhao's eyes, these young people really weren't strong enough. They weren't that strong themselves. But they thought that they were. Chen Zhao didn't know who gave them the courage to have such a misunderstanding. Perhaps they hadn't met any decent opponents in the past. But Chen Zhao would never tolerate them. I will not accommodate them either. I'll tell you, the remaining white-clothed girl cried out bitterly. I'll tell you everything you want to know. The others' expressions changed drastically. The girl in the white shirt no longer dared to look at her friends. Just then, a breeze blew past. The girl's cries stopped abruptly. When she turned around, she saw her 3 remaining friends frozen in the distance. 3 black tentacles extended from each of their backs. Dark shadows penetrated their skin from behind and continuously seeped into their bodies. In the end, black liquid seeped out of their eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Finally, they collapsed onto the ground powerlessly. The girl in the white shirt trembled in fear. Compared to the man before her, their bravery and ruthlessness towards others in the past wasn't even worth mentioning. Stop crying and organize your words, Chen Zhao said calmly. Don't let me feel that there's anything wrong with what you're saying. Otherwise, I'll cut you up piece by piece. You'll die more miserably than any of them. Your voice will be broken from crying. The girl in the white shirt tried her best to control her tears. She could feel that the man before her wasn't joking with her. His cruelty and coldness had already been proven in advance. It's our boss, Anthony Urk. He ordered us to do everything. Purpose. Summon the Lord of Hell, the Demon King. Demon King. Lord of Hell. At first glance, it sounded quite scary. But Chen Zhao had unparalleled experience in summoning demons. The Lord of Hell was a handsome guy, Satan. The Demon King referred to Satan and the other 6 kings of deadly sins. The 7 of them couldn't appear in the human world at all, not even as clones. Unless it was like Samuel, a consciousness without any power to speak of. The other demons had more or less grown in power around Chen Zhao. But Samuel was a kitten when he first appeared. He was still a kitten now. He could occasionally borrow the power of Chen Zhao's dark shadow, but he would pant for half a day after moving a few times. So, Chen Zhao didn't believe that anyone could summon the Demon King. Chapter 3282. However, summoning demons was quite professional. Knowing 3 to 5 demons summoning spells and summoning dozens or hundreds of times wasn't considered a professional. Chen Zhao was a true professional. He had summoned demons of all levels. How many sacrifices did he need for each type of demon and what conditions did he need to summon them? Chen Zhao could basically count them all. He hadn't been in the spiritual world for long. Speaking of common sense, Chen Zhao's attempts in the spiritual world were basically counting backwards. But when it came to summoning demons, if Chen Zhao said he was second, no one would dare to say they were first. Earth was the main plane, but it was only so big. A demon lord's territory was so big. For example, Beelzebub Zophie's territory had devoured 6 or 7 demon lords of the same level. His original territory was almost as big as a world. So, the price to summon a demon of this level was already astronomical. Sacrificing tens of millions of people for a few minutes was pointless. So, in theory, it was already impossible to summon a demon of the level of a demon lord. It was impossible in the past, and it was even more impossible now. Even with Chen Zhao's relationship with Beelzebub Zophie. He probably didn't want his sacrifices. Chen Zhao still had to prepare an astronomical number of materials for the summoning ceremony. Summoning demons wasn't a one-sided contract. Activating the summoning process required very strict conditions. Magic, sacrifices, and contracts, none of them could be missing. So, he had to summon a demon above the level of a demon lord. It wouldn't be as simple as a sacrifice. If a demon lord appeared in the modern world, due to the world barrier and the suppression of the power of the world, its power would be suppressed by at least half. If it was a secondary demon king, it wouldn't even have 1% of its power. Earth wasn't a small world. It was a world with complete rules. If the power of the world here completely suppressed Qin Zhao, he might self-destruct at any moment. But Qin Zhao was a native creature. He was part of the world's consciousness. So, Qin Zhao wouldn't be suppressed by the power of the world. But if he went to other worlds, he would be suppressed by the power of the world. Of course, apart from hell, Qin Zhao hadn't been to any other worlds with complete rules. All he went to were small worlds with incomplete rules. The power of the small worlds would suppress Qin Zhao. But he didn't feel uncomfortable at all. This was because Qin Zhao had a small world. His inner world was a small world. Therefore, to Qin Zhao, the world power of the small world posed no threat, or rather, the threat was relatively small. In a world with complete rules, the more powerful an outsider was, the stronger the suppression would be. Even if the great demon king was several times stronger, he would not be spared. Samuel was a typical example. Even he couldn't resist the world force under the complete laws. Therefore, when he appeared in the modern world, not to mention power, it didn't even have a complete form. It could only exist in the form of a kitten. That was why Qin Zhao told the girl that he wanted to summon the Lord of Hell. It wasn't that he didn't believe it, but he found it laughable. "Where can I find your boss, Anthony Milk?" "I can't find him. He always contacts me when he has a mission." The white-shirt girl looked at Qin Zhao in fear. "Then do you know the specific steps of this summoning ritual?" "I know, but I'm not sure if I can complete it." Shais replied. "Tell me. First, you have to gather the descendants of the King of Terror, King of Power, King of Death, King of Depravity, King of Destruction, King of Darkness, King of Blood, King of Nightmares, King of Winter, King of Fire, King of Withering, and King of Nirvana. Then, use their blood to activate the ancient magic array and summon the Lord of Hell." "What's the ancient magic array?" "It was discovered by our boss, Anthony Irk. It's a magic circle in a relic." "Where?" "I don't know." "How often does Anthony Milk contact you?" "Usually 2 to 3 days." Qin Zhao carried the white-shirt girl back to Los Angeles. The girl didn't know who Qin Zhao was. However, Qin Zhao had carried her all the way back to Los Angeles. The whole process took less than 3 minutes. This ability was enough to make her tremble in fear. She felt that Qin Zhao was much scarier than her boss, Anthony Milk. The girl was called Tem Isabella. She wasn't an experienced spiritualist. It had only been half a year since she entered and came into contact with the spiritual world. Then he was noticed by Anthony Irk. Speaking of which, her ability was quite powerful. She could create large amounts of water out of thin air. Furthermore, it could control the water within a certain area. If it was in a place with a lot of water, such as a river, lake, or sea, it would be very difficult. Her combat power would soar. Especially at sea level, she could even create a small tsunami. Of course, now that it was in Chen Zhao's hands, there was no need to think about it anymore. She didn't have the courage to challenge him. After all, those companions were not any weaker than her. None of them could last more than 2 rounds. After Chen Zhao threw Tem Isabella into the dungeon, Chen Zhaoxi dialed the little handsome guy's number. Little handsome. Is the mount you promised me not ready yet? No, I'm working on it. Have you heard of a summoning spell that uses the blood of 13 descendants of lesser demon kings to summon the 7 deadly sins? How is that possible? Even the blood of 130 or 1,300 descendants of lesser demon kings can't summon 1/10,000th of any of the 7 deadly sins, let alone 13. Even the blood of lesser demon kings can't do it. Plus, there are only 99 of them. Then, according to your estimation, if this magic formation is completed and the blood of the descendants of lesser demon kings is gathered, what level of demon can be summoned? Can it be a lesser demon king? No, it's too far away. It's possible if it's 1% of a lesser demon king's power, but it can only exist for a short time. It might not even last a breath. The consciousness and power of the summoned lesser demon king will be instantly destroyed by the power of the world. The remaining demon king's power will also cause great damage. Chen Zhao couldn't help but feel nervous. How much damage will it cause? With your current strength, it won't be a threat to you. It should cause a few years of climate change. Then, the power of the world in the main plane will gradually repair the disrupted climate. It won't cause the end of humanity, right? Nope. That's good. But if someone wants to activate this summoning spell, it's most likely to be a great lord or a lord demon. Chapter 3283. Chen Zhao finished communicating with the handsome guy. Chen Zhao also relaxed a little. At least he confirmed that it wasn't a ritual to summon a demon king. It made sense. It was impossible to summon a demon king anyway. Although it wasn't a groundless worry. After confirming it, Chen Zhao heaved a long sigh of relief. Even if the enemy wanted to summon a great lord, it would be troublesome. If it was a great lord, Chen Zhao was 100% confident. But in a battle of this level, Chen Zhao couldn't guarantee what kind of effect it would have. Unless Chen Zhao could kill it in one blow. Otherwise, it would definitely cause great damage. On the 3rd day, Tem Isabella told Chen Zhao. Anthony Falk had contacted her. Anthony Falk asked Tem Isabella to collect the blood of the descendant of terror as soon as possible. Chen Zhao wanted Tem Isabella to agree to his request first and tell him that she'd already collected it. Then, they agreed on the delivery location. Tem Isabella arrived at the delivery location. She was at the edge of a cornfield on a farm. After waiting for about half an hour, a car stopped in front of Tem Isabella. A man got out of the car. He wore sunglasses that covered most of his face. The man glanced at Tem Isabella. Why are you alone? They're busy. Tem Isabella was actually very nervous. Nevertheless, she still forced herself to calm down and replied. How come there's no signal when I tried to contact them earlier? There's no signal at the place they went to, Tem Isabella replied calmly. I don't know what they're doing either. After getting the blood, they told me and left. I don't know where exactly they went. These were all lines that she had rehearsed before. When she'd been locked up, she'd practiced these lines countless times. So, she could speak quite fluently now. Where's the thing I want? Isabella took out a test tube. It was filled with red liquid. There was also a strong aura. Even through the test tube, one could still feel the strong demonic aura. Such a strong aura. Are you sure it's from the girl who just awakened? The man asked. Yes. Isabella nodded. She didn't know if this was devil's blood, and she wasn't even sure if it was blood. Chen Zhao had prepared this for her. After hearing the words of the sunglasses man, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Strange, could it be that the girl's bloodline is very similar? The man in sunglasses held the test tube and looked at it again and again. He was sure that this was indeed devil's blood. Only evil demon blood could emit such a strong evil demon aura. But he was afraid of making a mistake. After all, he was the one who activated the demonic bloodline in the girl. At that time, he did not notice that the girl had such a pure demonic bloodline. If he had known earlier, he would have made better use of it. Okay, you can go now, said the sunglasses man. What about the benefits you promised me? Isabella asked. The sunglasses man smiled and took out a check. This is yours. You guys did well this time. The man in sunglasses said, I'll need your help next time. When they come back, tell them not to go to places without signal next time. Got it. Isabella nodded. Oh, you're Anthony Irk, right? The man in shades smiled and did not answer Isabella's question directly. I'm in a hurry. Bye. After returning to the car, the man said to the driver beside him, let's go. Did you get it? The driver asked. Yes, but something's not right. Let's go first. Hurry. After the car left, Isabella was somewhat hesitant. She was unsure if she should stay where she was. She did not dare to run. After all, Chen Zhao's terror was still fresh in her memory. She wasn't sure if she would be punished if she left without telling Chen Zhao. At the moment, Chen Zhao was chasing the car. The car had been driving for an hour. Are you sure there's something wrong with that woman? The driver asked. I'm not sure, but I can't contact her companions. Didn't she say that they went to a place without signal? I've checked the whereabouts of those people, and there are no records of them leaving the city. 3 days ago, her companions disappeared. Their families and friends don't have accurate information about them, and their daily necessities are still there. You've been investigating this for the past few days. What we're doing is too risky. We have to be careful with every operation. What do we do now? Keep driving in the city. Don't stop. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the car kept driving in the city without any rules. Should we keep driving? Yes. The man in sunglasses nodded. I don't see anyone following us. Stop at the service station in front. I'll go buy some food. The man got out of the car and bought some food. Then he returned to the car. Okay, we can go back now. But we haven't given the client our stuff yet. Already. In this service station. Yes. The man in sunglasses nodded. The driver was about to start driving when a man suddenly appeared in front of them. The driver rolled down the window and was about to yell. The man walked to the back door of the car and sat in. Chen Zhao leaned against the window and supported his face with one hand. Drive. Who are you? Chen Zhao tilted his head and looked at the 2 people in front. Tell me, who did you give the stuff to? The driver and the man in sunglasses glanced at each other. They moved in unison and opened their car doors, wanting to rush out. Click. Before they could open the door, it locked automatically. Then the accelerator was pressed down and the car started. It sped out of the service station. Both of their expressions changed. Who exactly are you? I'm the one asking you questions, not the other way around. You should be clear about the current situation. Don't you know who we are? We're from the Wayne brothers and sisters. You won't have a good ending if you attack us. The car sped up, faster and faster. It even exceeded the car's original horsepower. The car sped down the street. Both of them lost control of the car. Even the police car that was chasing them was left far behind. The car sped out of the city. The two were already pressed into the seats, unable to move. Do you know where the end of this road is? Chen Zhao asked. No. I don't, take coast, but there's a cliff at the end. At this speed, there's still about 18 minutes. This means that you have 18 minutes to think about my question. Chapter 3284. The man in shades and the driver tried all sorts of methods. Escape from the car, or control Chen Zhao. But they all failed. They still couldn't control the car. By then, the car had already entered the coastal highway. They could already see the end of the highway on the cliff. The two grew even more anxious. Stop the car. You'll die too. Stop the car. Ha. Sorry, you'll be the ones dying, Chen Zhao said casually. The car suddenly sped up again. By then, the car had already turned toward the cliff. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters. It was getting closer and closer. Stop, the man in shades yelled hysterically. I'll tell you. Whoosh, the car charged off the cliff. Ah. The man in shades and the driver both let out heart-wrenching cries. But the car didn't fall. Instead, it floated a dozen meters above the cliff. What's going on? The two broke out in cold sweat and couldn't help but swallow. You don't need to be agitated like this, Chen Zhao said, smiling. Who the fuck are you? From now on, please be careful when you speak. I'll extract some organs from your bodies according to the situation, Chen Zhao said. Now, Chen Zhao said, can you tell me which one of you is Anthony Urk or where he is now? We're not Anthony Urk. We don't know him either. As soon as the man in shades finished speaking, his left ear fell off. Ah. My ear. My ear, what did you do? The man in shades screamed in pain. I don't like lies. I'm telling the truth, the man in shades said in pain. We're dangerous carriers. Anthony Urk is only our client. We've never seen him before. How do I know if you're telling the truth? You can log onto our secret website with your phone and search for information about us. Chen Zhao took out his phone and typed in their website. As expected, information about them popped up. The two of them were people who specialized in transporting special items for various industries, especially the spiritual world. This was especially true for the spirit world. Most of the items they transported were items commissioned by the spirit world. They could be treasures that people fought over or items that could cause great harm. For example, the demon blood this time. They didn't care what the demon blood was used for. But Chen Zhao still didn't believe them. I heard your conversation with Elizabeth. Your relationship is not as simple as transporting goods. It's just a website. I can prepare 100 in a minute. This kind of preparation is meaningless. I activated that girl's demon bloodline. To be precise, she only activated it after I gave it to her. This is also a request. It's from Anthony Milk. He asked us to deliver it to the girl. Well, what about your relationship with Elizabeth? Did you entrust Elizabeth or that Anthony Milk? It's Anthony Milk. But your conversation makes me feel like you hired them.
Alright, we already knew who they were before this. They had just awakened less than half a year ago, but they were all very powerful and high profile. So, we just pretended to be Anthony Irk and talked to her. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin and picked up the phone. Aluntarai, Manette, what do you think? President, there are a lot of loopholes in his answers. First of all, he said he was trying to disguise Anthony Falco's tone. To disguise Anthony Falco's tone, the person must be someone familiar with him. However, Miss Elizabeth didn't notice his conversation with her, which means he's not only good at disguising himself, but he's also very familiar with Miss Elizabeth. From these 2 points, we can tell he's not just a delivery man, Aluntarai said. President, let me add something, Manette said. I logged in according to the website he gave me. The website looks similar, but there are many loopholes. I checked the back-end records and only today has an IP. There's also no record of a request. This means that his preparation isn't perfect. This is their mistake. Another thing is that their delivery method seems very strict, but there are actually many loopholes. They only stopped once, at the service station, and even bought something. So, if we break the process into several steps, we can understand their delivery method. First, they get off the car, enter the store, choose the item, and pay. I discussed it with Aluntarai. The most likely step is the payment step. You mean there's a problem with the cashier? No, there's nothing wrong with the cashier. They give the cashier the banknotes with the information of the goods. At this time, the customers following behind get the banknotes from the cashier by giving them change. This is a more popular underground transaction method now. They use an unrelated person as a middleman, and then complete the transaction without the middleman knowing. Chen Zhao understood. He raised his head and looked at the man in shades and the driver. Now, do you have anything else to add? Both of their expressions became extremely ugly. I've heard of dangerous goods transportation, Manette added. But it's not like this. First of all, they won't take the goods from a certain place. Instead, they'll pick up the goods from a certain place. The delivery method is also more strict. So, President, I think you can obtain information through violence now. It'll be more effective. Okay, sorry for interrupting your vacation. Continue to have fun. Chen Zhao looked at the two. You still have some time. The man in shades and the driver felt a force pressing down on them from all directions. Their bodies started shrinking. Chen Zhao looked at them calmly. You'll soon be squashed into meatballs by my power. Before you die, you still have a chance to speak. Just like Miss Elizabeth, I only need someone to speak. The man in shades and the driver glanced at each other. They could already feel extreme pain.
Their bones were wailing. Their bodies pressed against each other under the unfamiliar force. They started panting heavily, but it couldn't reduce their pain. Soon, they found it hard to breathe. Blood started seeping out from their mouths, noses, and ears. Their eyes bulged out from their bloodshot eyes. I'll talk, the driver said with difficulty. Chen Zhao looked at the time. 49 seconds. I thought you could last at least a minute. Chapter 3285. The man's body became smaller and smaller. He was growing into a sphere. He could no longer speak. Just then, the man's body started changing. His skin turned black and a horn grew out of his head. But this couldn't delay his death. The pressure didn't stop. Seeing this, the driver's mood also fell to the bottom of the valley. Even after his partner used his trump card, he couldn't turn the situation around. You don't have much time, Chen Zhao asked. Do you still want to delay? The driver thought for a while and said, a year ago, a group of people found me and said that I'm the same type of person as them. They wanted me to join them. At first, I refused, but then they proved that we're the same type of person, the same type of person. Chen Zhao studied the driver carefully. You have demon blood too? Yes. The driver nodded. Then I joined the organization. Anthony Rourke joined after me. Anthony Milk. That's him, the driver said. I thought he was the culprit behind everything. Chen Zhao was dazed. The big boss he'd thought of was just a small fry now. His power was average, and so was his skill. But thinking about it, it made sense. Ordinary people would not be able to execute such a big plan. He's not, the driver said. We're just the lowest in the church. What church? Three Gods Church. We worship the King of Darkness, Angelo Mahalaka, the King of Sin, Kirkener Geetham, and the Supreme King of all things, Lar Tywuster. Chen Zhao was still shocked when he heard about the King of Blackness. But thinking about it, the demon kings of hell didn't matter if they were the king of the 7 deadly sins or the secondary demon kings. Their names were their surnames. They would only give others surnames. They couldn't have both names and surnames. For example, Beelzebub Zophie. Beelzebub was the demon king camp that he belonged to. It was his subordinate surname. Zophie was his family's surname and name. If he was lucky enough to become a secondary demon king in the future, he'd give up the surname Beelzebub. Then, he'd call him Demon King Zophie. Therefore, Chen Zhao was very sure that none of the 3 demon kings that the 3 god sect worshipped were real demon kings. Of course, if the masterminds behind all this were the 3 so-called demon kings. Their ultimate goal was to descend into the modern world. He had no choice but to tell his followers his name. After all, to complete the summoning, one's real name was a must. The only people they could deceive were those who were not in the industry. Anyone with the slightest bit of knowledge would know that these names could not possibly be the names of the Demon King. From the first day we joined, we were given the mission of freeing the 3 gods from their imprisonment and leading them into the real world. The driver said, we belong to the King of Darkness, Angeli Mahalaka. Our main responsibility is to complete our own work. I don't know about the progress of the other 2 branches. Your 3 god sect has different factions. Of course, we only believe in our own god. Chen Zhao nodded. Looks like your faith isn't that strong. The driver shrugged. I have my own will. I know what I'm doing. In other words, you actually know what kind of group you've joined. Do you know what kind of life I lived in the past? My house was stolen by the bank, my family left me, and I could only spend the night in a paper box in -12 degrees Celsius. I want to change the world. I want to get back what I've lost. With demons. The high priest said that when our king descends, we'll be promoted. We'll become kings, the rulers of a region. We'll have everything. What we lost in the past, what we didn't have, we'll get back 100 or 1,000 times in the future. Chen Zhao rested a hand on one side of his face and tilted his body slightly. Yes, continue. Of course, the prerequisite is that I have to live. I know that it sounds sad to rely on a god or a demon to realize one's dream, but it's my only choice, right? Perhaps. Chen Zhao was very sure that their wish would most likely fail. After all, the god they believed in wasn't even a secondary demon king. If a secondary demon king really descended, and it wouldn't be suppressed by the power of the world. After descending, if these servants could really receive rewards, they might really realize their so-called dreams. There were too many prerequisites. But the savior they hoped for wasn't a secondary demon king. Even if he really descended, there wouldn't be absolute, dominating power. But there were humans like Qin Zhao in this world. So even if they descended, they wouldn't be able to overturn the order of human society. Unless they didn't cause too much of a commotion when descending. If they hid after descending and planned in secret for a few hundred years, they might really be able to shake the order of human society. But then, it would definitely have nothing to do with believers. The leader of our sect is the High Priest. He's the leader of everything. All the missions and progress related to summoning our god are issued by him. How do we find him? Or where is your base? We don't have a base. Every gathering is informed by the higher-ups. If we want to find the High Priest, we have to find someone to receive us. What about the person? Earlier, when Anthony Irk went to the service station, he sent something out. I'm very sure that he didn't send the demonic blood out. I've been watching his every move. The thing and the information are separated. When we passed a certain road in the city, there was a manhole cover that was open. After our car passed by, the demonic blood would be thrown into the manhole. Anthony Irk went to the service station to send this information out. The method is just as your subordinate guessed. Chen Zhao nodded. In other words, my tracking has failed, and you can't provide me with any more useful information, right? The driver felt a chill. He could already feel Chen Zhao's murderous intent toward him. Wait, I can't provide you with information about our sect, but I know some information about the other sections. Didn't you say you don't know anything about the other sects? Or are you planning to lie to me on the spot? I don't know, but some news reports always report supernatural events. We can easily tell that the supernatural events reported in the news are very similar to the actions of our faction. Chapter 3286. Santa Fe City, capital of New Mexico. Qin Zhao and the driver from the Three Gods sect, Blinken, had been here for 2 days. Blinken pushed open the door. Mr. Qin, I found it. Let's go. I hope the information you've gathered is useful. Qin Zhao and Blinken drove to their destination, an ordinary apartment. Knock knock, Qin Zhao knocked on the door. Just then, the door opened, but only a crack. Inside was a young woman who looked less than 30 years old. She was quite pretty, but her face was a little haggard. Who are you looking for? Is this the home of Dion and his wife? Yes, I'm Creel Dion Berletta. My husband is at work. If you want to see him, you'll have to wait for another 2 hours. The woman scrutinized Qin Zhao and Blinken. Hello, Miss Creel. Qin Zhao looked at Creel. We're here for your daughter. You are the police. Creel's face immediately turned cold. She didn't seem to like cops. No, we're not the police. We've said everything we need to say. What else do you want? My daughter has been dead for more than half a year, and you guys don't have any clues at all. Every time, you guys ask the same question. I've had enough. I've had enough of you guys. Collier lost control of his emotions. Chen Zhao calmly watched as Creel cursed and lost his composure. Creel slammed the door angrily. Chen Zhao and Blinken were still standing at the door. About a few minutes later, the door opened again. Collier pulled the door open. Come in. You'd better give me some useful information. Chen Zhao and Blinken finally entered the house. Clear poured a glass of water for them. Tell me, what do you want to ask? Ms. Cryer, as I said before, we are not the police. Well, which department are you from? We're in charge of the supernatural. Sir, are you sure you're here to investigate my daughter's death? You're not joking. Chen Zhao glanced at Brinken. Brinken stretched out his hands and a dark red energy ball started brewing between his palms. Are you satisfied with this answer? Ms. Cryer. Creel covered his mouth in disbelief. After a long while, Creel finally calmed down a little. Is my daughter's death a supernatural event? Her death should be murder, but it's related to the supernatural world, Chen Zhao said. She's just a 6-year-old child. How could she have anything to do with people like you? She didn't offend the people from the spiritual world, Chen Zhao said helplessly. The people from the spiritual world have their eyes on her. Could it be that the world of people like you is filled with such perverts? No wonder Creel was so mean to Chen Zhao. After all, her daughter had died a violent death. He couldn't ask her to have a good impression of the spiritual world anymore. Miss Creel, I'm sorry. Although there aren't many of them, they do exist in the shadows. Tell me, what exactly happened? Who killed my daughter? Why did they treat my daughter in such a cruel way? She was only a child, she was only 6 years old. The more Creel spoke, the more agitated he became. In the end, he broke down and burst into tears. After she calmed down, Chen Zhao said, I also want to know who killed your daughter. In other words, you don't know who did it either, right? We hope to get some information from you and your husband, or to see if your daughter's belongings are still there. You need Rachel and me to cooperate. Yes, we do. If you find that person, can we kill him ourselves? Miss Creel, do you know that killing is never easy? I don't care. I just want to take revenge in my own way. I want to kill him. I dream of killing him. Fury and hatred were burning in Creel's eyes. Creel looked at Chen Zhao and Brinken. You're not cops, are you? Your goal isn't to seek justice for my daughter. You just want to find the murderer. No, we're seeking justice, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Trust me, Chen Zhao said calmly. They'll regret what they've done after falling into my hands. Ms. Creel, killing is actually a scary thing. Creel started crying again. After crying, her attitude was still determined. I don't want to listen to those big theories. I just want a chance. Do you know that I dream of my daughter every day? She's crying to me. She tells me that her entire body hurts. Can you understand this feeling? Just then, the door was pushed open. Ryan Dion was back. He saw 2 strangers in the house. Creel, who are they? Are they the police again? Riley Dion was a firefighter. He was tall and looked very strong. We're here to investigate your daughter's death, Chen Zhao answered. Creel told him about Chen Zhao and Brinken's identities. Brinken demonstrated his ability again. Riley Dion sat on the sofa in silence. Rayleigh didn't say anything after that. Creel was still expressing his strong demands. Personally punish the murderer. Just then, Rachel stood up. I'll take you to my daughter's room. I'm not sure what's useful, but maybe you can find some clues. Creel, can you get me something to eat? I'm very hungry. Chen Zhao and Blake followed Rachel to their daughter's room. Sir, I hope that you can inform me as soon as you find the murderer. Or I can go with you. Mr. Rachel, compared to your wife, I think you should be calmer. You should know that this won't do you any good. But I just can't control myself. I want to kill him. I just want to kill him. The impulsiveness and murderous aura that Rayleigh Dion displayed was even stronger than that of his wife, Creel. That's not a person, Chen Zhao said. You'll sink into madness. Just then, Chen Zhao realized that there was an unknown flower in a bottle on the desk. The flower was about to wither. However, it was emitting a faint magic power. Chen Zhao picked it up. Do you recognize this? Rachel glanced at the flower and nodded silently. Light red flower. It's used to stimulate the bloodline, but it's extremely poisonous, Brinken answered. Chen Zhao looked at Rhett. Do you know who gave this flower to your daughter? Chapter 3287. What's wrong with the flower? If we can find out who sent this flower, then our target can probably be narrowed down a lot. Before Rayleigh could answer, Creel, who was standing at the door, spoke up. It's my daughter's teacher, Creel said. I remember that I went to pick her up that day. She got in the car happily with this flower in her hand. She likes it a lot and said that the teacher gave it to her. As Creel spoke, his body began to tremble. Is the person who sent this flower the murderer who killed my daughter? I can't be sure, but it's very suspicious. In a mansion, Marshall Griner had just returned home from work. After busying himself for a while, he prepared dinner. He liked his solitary life where no one would disturb him. However, just as he was about to enjoy dinner, the lights in the room suddenly went out. Marshall Griner cursed under his breath. He stood up to check the electric switch. However, the moment he stood up, a hand suddenly landed on his shoulder and pushed him back to his seat. Marshall Griner's heart tightened. You're Marshall Griner, right? Sir, if there's anything valuable in the house, you can take it. Please don't hurt me, Marshall Griner said hurriedly. At this time, there was a flower on his plate. A wilted flower. Marshall Griner's pupils constricted. Very good. Looks like you know this flower. Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. Marshall Griner's voice sounded forced. It's fine. I'm not here for evidence anyway. Sir, can we talk? How much do you want? Chen Zhao took out his phone. Mr. Rayleigh, you can come in now. Marshall Griner's expression changed once again. Then he heard the sound of the door being kicked open violently. Then, there were footsteps and the sound of a metal pipe being dragged. Ryan Dion was dragging a metal baseball bat in his hand. Mr. Chen, are you sure it's him? Yes. Even if it's not him, he's related to your daughter's death. Chen Zhao nodded. Mr. Rayleigh, please calm down. Don't listen to his nonsense. Chen Zhao lifted one of Marshall Griner's arms. With a low growl, Rayleigh smashed the baseball bat down. Ah, Marshall Grinnell howled in pain. It had to be said that the villa he chose was quite secluded. There was no one living within a radius of several kilometers. This would give him a comfortable life experience. Of course, this also caused some unfavorable aspects. For example, right now, he needed someone to hear his screams. Tell me, why? Isn't my little Mary cute enough? Rayleigh Dion's face was ferocious and his veins were bulging. He raised the metal baseball bat again. Tell me, why? Why? Crack, Marshall Grinnell's thigh was broken. She is an angel. Why would anyone hurt her? Why? Tell me why. Riley Dion used to live on the streets. Therefore, he knew how to make people suffer more. Suddenly, a wave of energy rippled out from Marshall Grindell's body. Chen Zhao and Red both took 2 steps back. Marshall Grimmer propped himself up in pain. His entire body was trembling slightly. Okay, I'll tell you why. Marshall Grimmer's pained expression suddenly turned ferocious. His facial muscles stiffened as if he'd injected too much Botox. His pupils also showed an inhuman state. His fingernails sharpened, and his limbs that had been broken were twisting in an inconceivable way before their joints were reconnected. Mr. Chin. Chen Zhao walked up calmly. He grabbed the back of Marshal Grindel's neck and pressed him to the ground. He's just struggling, Chen Zhao said indifferently. It's a useless struggle. Marshal Grindel tried to climb up and fight back. But he couldn't. Chen Zhao was too strong. Let's continue. Seeing Marshal Grindel's transformation, Ret Dion was even more certain that Marshal was the murderer. He was even more certain that he was the murderer who killed his daughter. There was no longer any hesitation in his actions. Why? Bang! Bang! It had to be said that after demonizing, Marshal Grindel was even more resistant to beatings. However, this didn't mean that he couldn't feel pain. Ret Dion was still very strong. He even used a metal baseball bat. Even a demon's body could be injured. Who else apart from you? Tell me, who else? Marshal Grindel endured the pain. Do you want to know? You know that you're on the verge of death. You don't know who you're facing. I only know that I'll kill you demons with my own hands. Then why should I tell you? If you tell me now, you can die more easily, Chen Zhao said indifferently. I'll tell you. Let me go. Chen Zhao's finger slid across Marshal Grindel's skin and tore off a strip of flesh. I'll tear your body apart piece by piece. Trust me, I'm good at it. Then came the cruel torture. The entire process didn't last long. Marshal didn't hide anything. At least, Chen Zhao got the information he wanted. Marshal Grindel's superior. Ret Dion looked at the dying Marshal Grindel on the ground. How should we deal with this guy? Hell is prepared for people like him, Chen Zhao said. With that, Chen Zhao suddenly increased his strength. Marshal Griner tried to struggle for a while, but he soon stopped moving. Mr. Ret, are you satisfied with this result? Are you going to that nest next? Mr. Ret, it's a supernatural battle next. I'll go with you. Ret Dion took out his gun. Look, I've even prepared this guy. Chen Zhao shook his head with a smile. Those guys don't eat this. Do you have anything that can kill these demons? A baby holding a gun might hurt the baby, but it might also hurt itself. I'm not a baby. I've killed people before. Once, I met an arsonist in a fire. I doused him with gasoline and kicked him into the fire. I told you, it's too dangerous. Or maybe I should find the way myself. Chen Zhao rubbed his forehead. It would be more dangerous if he did. It would be fine if he didn't find it, but if he did, or if he was discovered, it would only put the couple in more danger. Fine. No matter what happens later, don't leave my sight. If you agree, I'll take you there. Chapter 3288. Rayleigh's courageous performance won Chen Zhao's praise. However, he was still a bit scared. As Chen Zhao drove, he glanced at Riley Dion in the passenger seat. Don't be too nervous. Just stay by my side. Under normal circumstances, there won't be any danger. Okay, I know. What's under normal circumstances? What's not under normal circumstances? As long as the world isn't destroyed, it's under normal circumstances, Chen Zhao said, chuckling. Ha! Hearing Chen Zhao's joke, Rayleigh also laughed. At the same time, he felt much more relaxed. After half an hour, Chen Zhao stopped the car. They were at an abandoned dock. There were stacked containers everywhere. However, no one had maintained them. After being exposed to the wind and rain, the containers were all rusted. It's here, right? According to what that guy said, it should be here. After all, Rayleigh was a local. He knew the local names and locations better. After the two got out of the car, Chen Zhao glanced at Rayleigh. Where's your metal baseball bat? Didn't you say that thing can't kill demons? It's useful for revenge. It hurts when you fight with your bare hands. Some things have very thick skin too. Rayleigh thought for a moment. Then he returned to the car and picked up the bat. The abandoned dock wasn't empty. In the empty space inside, a few cranes were working. There were also many people in black robes around. The cranes lifted the containers one by one, and then dumped out a large amount of flesh, blood, and bones. Of course, the bones weren't human. They were all cows and sheep. However, the scene was really disgusting. The flesh and blood filled up a huge magic array. What are they doing? Rayleigh and Chen Zhao were lying on top of a container. They could see most of the abandoned dock. Summoning demons. After being filled up by the flesh and blood, the huge magic array started working. Black smoke seeped out of the magic array, forming an empty door of flesh and blood. Then a large number of low-level demons came out of the door. As soon as they came out, they pounced on the corpses of the cows and sheep and started gnawing on them. Rayleigh covered his mouth, a trace of worry on his face. He glanced at Chen Zhao beside him. Mr. Chen, are you sure you can handle it? Those things are very low level. Even you can deal with 2 or 3 of them. Then how many can you handle? It doesn't matter how many. Chen Zhao shrugged. There's no point in having more of those things. Then when do we start? No rush, Chen Zhao said. I haven't seen the person in charge yet. We're not here to deal with these small fries. But that scene looks a little scary. After all, it was Rayleigh's first time experiencing a supernatural event. So it was understandable that they were uneasy. Needless to say, these people's actions were quite extravagant. After summoning a large number of low-level demons, it started to gather a large number of evil spirits. Through the magic array, he released an aura that attracted evil spirits. Then, countless evil spirits began to surge in from all directions. They then combined the evil spirits into even more terrifying evil spirits. Just then, a few cars drove in from outside. A few evil cultists in red robes got out of the car. The evil cultists in the area all bowed to these red-robed evil cultists. The red-robed evil cultists began to give orders. The low-level evil cultists began to dig up the concrete floor. There was actually a magic array under the abandoned pier. No wonder the pier was abandoned. Ha! Do you know why? Chen Zhao looked at Rayleigh. This pier used to be the city's largest trading center. This dock was originally the city's largest trading hub. Every day, a large number of imports and exports came and went from here. But no one knows when it started. Murders kept happening here. Every day, there would be a murder, and no one had ever caught the murderer. It lasted for 13 days, and 13 people died. The police couldn't find any clues or motive, so the dock was completely abandoned. All the workers at the dock were unwilling to continue working. Later, it was reopened, but another person died on that day. Since then, it has never been reopened. Ever since then, it hasn't been reopened. Just then, the red-robed evil cultists in the center each took out a bottle of blood and poured it onto the magic array on the ground. Then, they joined hands and chanted in unison. Rayleigh had a premonition. He turned to look at Chen Zhao. What are you waiting for? The real boss hasn't come out yet. If we break the ritual now, there might be a bunch of people with brain problems who will continue to summon the big guy in the future. It's better to wait for them to summon the big boss and then deal with them together. But, aren't they summoning a demon king? Don't worry. I've asked professionals. They're not summoning a demon king. What professionals? A real demon king. Just then, blood rose from the ground. The ground cracked and a huge hand pierced out of the magic array. Then the head, and then the body. The huge demon was climbing out of the summoning ritual with difficulty. Great King of Sin, Kirkener, respond to your servant's call. We will welcome you with unparalleled glory. The huge demon's upper body had already passed through the magic array. His skin was bright red. He had 2 wings on his back and 10 eyes on his face. There was also a ring of fire formed by hellfire above his head. He, or rather, she. She was a female demon with obvious gender characteristics. I, Kirkener, have finally come to the modern world. Kirkener was still trying his best to climb out of the magic array. My loyal servants, increase your magic power. Your offerings are all under my watch. The moment I truly descend, you will receive unparalleled blessings. The cultists chanted even louder. Their master's request seemed to be their greatest motivation. The low-level demons that had been summoned earlier had been greedily devouring the offerings. But now, they were trembling under Kirkener's demonic aura. They all knelt before the magic array, sincerely waiting for Kirkener's arrival. Riley Dion's jaw dropped at the sight. Was this the person he wanted to take revenge on? Could humans really defeat this kind of demon? Just then, Chen Zhao stood up. Okay, now it's the official start. Start what? Chen Zhao looked back at Riley Dion. Save the world. Chen Zhao raised his right arm. Chapter 3289. The world of fire descended. Boom! Instantly, the entire world was engulfed in flames. The sky was a boundless crimson red. The ground was filled with rivers of lava. Dozens of volcanoes could be seen in the distance. Most of the demons and cultists were instantly vaporized by the heat. Riley Dion was terrified. The cultists and demons had all been vaporized instantly. But the temperature here was indeed the limit. Even the metal boxes under their feet were melting. But what surprised him was that, he could feel the heat, but it wasn't unbearable. As a fireman, this heat was still within his tolerance range. Riley stared at Chen Zhao in shock. What's going on? That's why I said, don't leave my sight. Chen Zhao looked at Kirkener. As a demon lord, she was both shocked and furious. She didn't understand what was happening at all. Trap! Damn it, it's a trap, you traitors. Kirkener's huge palm descended from the sky and slammed onto the ground. A few red-clothed priests were instantly slapped to death by Kirkener. Kirkener looked at Jean C. I want you all to die. 10 black beams shot out of Kirkener's 10 eyes at the same time. Her 10 eyes could move at will as she chased after the cultists. Any cultist who was hit by her black ray would instantly turn into black iron. Chen Zhao raised a shield in front of him. Don't move, Chen Zhao said to Riley, turning back. Riley Dion nodded stiffly. The next moment, Riley's vision blurred. Her ears were bleeding from the loud explosion. Chen Zhao had already disappeared. Kirkendall suddenly stopped his attack. She looked down and saw a hole in her chest. Jean C held the demon's heart in his hand. The dark serum enveloped the heart and devoured it. Kirkener turned his head and grinned at Chen Zhao. You think I'm only... Before Kirkendall could finish, the dark serum burst out of her body. You're the King of Wrath, the dark serum flowed back to Qin Zhao's side. Then, an even more turbulent black tide swallowed Kirkandal Gisatan wasn't very powerful. Qin Zhao had killed many demon lords in the past. She could only be considered average. The so-called King of Evil was just an empty title. Qin Zhao devoured Kirkandal Gisatan directly. Kirkandal Gisatan couldn't raise Qin Zhao's upper limit. In the end, they would only become nourishment for the darkness origin liquid. Qin Zhao looked around. In the next instant, a rain of fire began to fall from the sky. It was like the end of the world, a complete baptism. Aside from Riley Dion, there was no one else alive. He put away the world of flames. The surroundings regained their calm. An abandoned dock was still an abandoned dock. However, the ground and the containers looked as if they had just been thrown into a volcano and roasted. It had already cooled, but it left behind hardened lava everywhere. When the flame world was put away, it also took away the high temperature. Therefore, the area that was enveloped instantly cooled down. The inner world was a very useful skill. Of course, it was mainly used against high-level enemies. Using a small world to limit the area of destruction. He could drag the enemy into his own small world. Riley Dion landed on the ground and looked at the devastated ground. He couldn't imagine such a terrifying demon invasion. It had actually ended in such a short time. Sorry, it seems like you don't have many enemies left. Qin Zhao looked around. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed in the distance. Qin Zhao caught a red-clothed priest and tossed him before Riley Dion. I don't know who he is, but he must be a bad guy. Maybe you can vent on him. The red priest was very lucky. He actually didn't die in that kind of environment. Riley Dion had already lost interest in the cultist. He also knew that the battle just now wasn't of his level. He didn't have the right to interfere. If Qin Zhao wasn't here, he wouldn't even have the right to watch. Whatever. Qin Zhao casually strangled the red priest to death. Your hatred ends here. Go back to your normal life with your wife. You're still young and can have another child. You can give your daughter's love to your second child. Riley Dion opened his arms and hugged Qin Zhao. If I'm in trouble again, can I call you? Of course. Qin Zhao patted Riley's shoulder. Qin Zhao gave him his personal number. How do we go back now? Qin Zhao felt a bit awkward. He'd burned Riley's car. He'd sent Riley to his house. Riley looked at Qin Zhao. Do you usually save the world like this? Actually, not most of the time. Also, this is your compensation. No, I don't need compensation. You've already helped me a lot. This is for your car. Do you want to go in for a drink? No, I'm still busy saving the world. Then, goodbye. In the next few days, Qin Zhao continued to investigate the Three Gods sect. The Three Gods sect was well hidden. But as long as they took action, there would definitely be clues. Not everything could be solved with violence. But he could definitely save the world. This meant that Qin Zhao spent most of his time searching for clues. With the help and analysis of Alentor and Manit, Qin Zhao finally eliminated the other two factions of the Three Gods sect. There might be some who slipped through, but they wouldn't amount to much. After dealing with all the commissions on hand, Qin Zhao heaved a sigh of relief. It wouldn't be long before another pile of missions piled up. But Qin Zhao could finally relax for now. Hey, Mr. Qin, I'm Bin Gale. Mr. Bin Gale, hello. Mr. Qin, the 2 planes you asked us to decorate are already done. When will you come over to take a look and give us some suggestions? I don't have time now. I'll send someone over to check. If there's no problem, I'll pay you the rest. It was almost the traditional Chinese New Year again. Chen Zhao didn't plan on returning to China this year. After all, he just screwed Zhang Tianyi over. Chen Zhao didn't know if Zhang Tianyi would screw him over if he went back. This year, he planned to celebrate with his family at home. After 20 days of exchange, the people from the supernatural organization finally came back. West said that the exchange was quite successful. He hoped that there would be another opportunity. Chen Zhao didn't dare to agree easily. This time, they were going out for an exchange. He had to handle the entire organization's work alone. He'd almost gone crazy. If he had to do it again soon, Chen Zhao felt that he would really go crazy. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.